forgot to put that right away. Let's see. What is going on, everyone? So, welcome to my latest live stream. I am joined today with Anthony A. Perez. We've collaborated multiple times on both his channel as well as mine. I put down in the link down below his Letterboxd as well as his channel. He does many different kind of videos. And what's great also is that he gets plenty of early screenings. He recently did a Amazing Spider-Man showing, which was really cool. I started watching it. It's really good. But yeah, Anthony, welcome to the channel, and I'm glad that we're doing this live stream. So, how are you feeling today?
Good, man. Good, man. I appreciate you having me on, dude. Once you hit me up, I was like, absolutely, I'd totally be down.
Oh, dude, I knew I had to hit you up with doing this because I've been trying to make this a regular occurrence with doing live streams. Kind of taking a page from your playbook with just being more relatable in regards to the channel. Because as you know, with a lot of my videos, I try to be very professional. Just like these videos, it's very like laid back. Of course, try not to say certain things that might get me demonetized, but
I get you, man. I'm the same way. If you watch any of my like regular videos, I'm so meticulous about like the editing and like the amount of takes I take to say something at least close to the way I want to say it, and then like the editing. It's like the notes, the page of notes that I write out. So it's nice to do like live streams on a weekly basis on my channel, which mostly weekly, where you could just kind of sit back and talk and just have a laugh with somebody and just talk movies without it feeling like so put together. It's nice to have the put together videos, but it's nice to kind of just be laid back and chat.
well, especially with like those, it's one of those things where it's like you might be talking about a movie that's like either controversial or like divisive. So it's like you're like, all right, I got to make sure I word it a certain way so that way it doesn't get taken a certain way. I saw today. I did a doubleheader with two friends. We watched two Alejandro Jodorowsky films. It was El Topo and The Holy Mountain, which they're two films that, in terms of like the art house genre, are like up there. Like I've known about them for years, but I haven't watched them because they're very hard to find. Like my one friend managed to track both of them down, so we watched it in his home theater. And like watching those films, I was just like, man, like I would love to talk about these on YouTube, but like I know that I'm probably gonna have to do like an outline in regards to like certain points that I'm gonna have to hit because it's just like it's a lot, dude, to like break down like those films.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel that way similarly. Recently, I've been trying to do. I think in the past when I've reviewed older films from previous years and even just like substantially older, um, I've always kind of like, especially my early days, I felt this need to stay non-spoiler, even though the movie may have been out for years, like if not
Yeah,
decades. And I've kind of moved away from that now. I mean, I moved away from it a while ago, but like my approach now has been a little bit more to like not spoil every little bit of the film and talk about every little thing, but like have a more of a clear path of like, discussing the story overall. And while also giving my thoughts on the filmmaking and the performances as they go along. Recently did that with the entire Alien franchise leading up to Alien Romulus.
yep.
I covered every single main Alien and Predator film. I made it a point to like really give those a deep dive, which definitely required to writing down notes that made sense. Like you can write down like the cast and the director and all that kind of stuff. That's great, but like you got to have like an outline. I find for myself to be able to
Certain
keep track
scenes
of.
that you want to like talk about, where it's like to really break it down. It's
Right,
it's
right.
it's tough though, like in terms of like older films, because it's like in terms of like the Alien films, like spoiler free, I get it because it's like one of those things where it has like a fan base already, but it's like it's one of those things where if I'm talking about a film that's like a lot older, it's like, well, what if there's not really a fan base? It's like, but I want someone to come across this movie and like, you know,
Right.
it's one of those things where then I'm like, all right, non spoiler. Plus, I try not to. Like, I always have the mindset of like, if I see a review, I'm always like, if I haven't seen the movie, like, do I want to click on this or not? Because I'm like, am I gonna have this spoiled? Like, there's some
Fair,
review.
fair enough. Yeah.
like there's some reviewers like name dropping like Stuckman and Jeremy Johns. Like I noticed that recently with them, like they'll talk about the entire story in the first half of the review, and I'm like, no, like I wanted to go in blind. Like I just wanted to hear them talk about a little bit of the filmmaking.
Right,
And
right.
so at this point, I just go, if I haven't seen the film, I just go to the second half of the review. And I'll just go back and then I'll like rewatch it. So it's just like with some of your Alien reviews. Like I haven't seen the Alien versus Predator movie. So like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait to watch these until I see these
Right, right.
atrocities. Because I that's what I've heard they're bad, but I'm like at the same
Probably for
time,
the best, yeah, because I definitely talked about everything that happened in those movies.
I
I
saw
will
your
say this.
letterbox review.
Right, I will say this. The second one, the first one, I think is fun, man. I said in my review for it, I would say the first one for me is equivalent. Take whether this is good or bad to you is up to you, but it's equivalent to the Godzilla versus Kong films, where the story with the humans is is completely just like you could do away with it, you could whatever. It's serviceable enough to keep you going, but the the payoff of what you came for is awesome. And so in the first one, there is like the first time the predators and the xenomorphs go toe to toe. That action scene is just awesome. Like there's no getting around it. It is just like here's two aliens beating each other up, and it's shot really cool. And like it ends with like one of them killing the other one. I won't tell you which one. And there's tons of them. There's several. So it's like you get to see these fights over the course of the movie.
And
But that first shot.
wasn't that the one that was R rated and then it was like the follow up was PG-13?
So it was the other way around. So the first one was
Oh,
PG-13, funny enough. And so that would be my biggest gripe about the movie is that it definitely should have been R-rated. But the movie itself is like it's just fun. It knows what it is. It's silly, it's campy, but it's like it knows what it is. And the action between the two monsters is exactly what you want. There's some really cool shots, and the movie utilizes some great practical effects. The sequel, dude, it has one of I don't want to spoil it for you, but it has one of the greatest ideas in the entirety of the Alien and Predator franchise. It has one of the coolest concepts that you would ever want to see in any of these movies, and it is completely squandered in an absolutely horrible film. Like the second film, Alien vs Predator Requiem, is the worst out of the Alien and the Predator films, like altogether.
oh
Like it is
wow.
absolutely horrible. They gave the first one is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Now, that might be a bad thing
Wow.
or a good thing for some people, but if you know his style of movies, he's done a bunch of other like video game movies and stuff. He's not the greatest when it comes to writing, but sometimes he can have some cool, fun action.
I have a soft
Um,
spot for the Three Musketeers, honestly. Like
there
the
you go, there you
2011
go.
movie.
So I think for me, because I like some of his movies, Alien vs Predator falls into that category of he knew what the movie needed to be enough to enjoy it. So it's like for me, that one's a fun one, even if I can admit that the storyline isn't the greatest. The sequel, it just like is plotless. That was the best way I can describe it. I think you would struggle with that movie big time because there is no plot. There are just different groups of humans dealing with different things, and they just find themselves in the middle of a battle
And don't
between.
they, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if this is for the first one or the sequel, but isn't this the one where it's like they completely bathed all the characters in like a lot of shadows and like you can't tell what's going on half the time?
Dude, the movie looks horrible. Like you're a cinematography guy. The saturation is so heavy and the movie is so dark that there are moments of lighting where you can see like the animatronics and the suits of the xenomorph and the predator, and they look great, but the movie is so dark that more often than not you can't see them. And so you can't see the monsters fighting. There's like moments where you're like, okay, that looks cool, but the movie is so dark. The humans, there's scenes where they're like in a sewer. It's so dark. And I watched it on Disney Plus. Like I didn't watch like some like horrible like Blu-ray copy I have or something like that. I watched like the Disney Plus like 4K resolution, and it was just so dark. And I remember being an issue when I watched it initially. Like the movie,
That's
I
what
don't
I
know
heard.
what they were, I don't know what they were thinking, dude. And the directors that they chose are two guys who I think it was their first feature length film, and they were known for like music videos. They did like Linkin Park's Crawling and like a 50 Cent music video and like some other like random like artist music videos. And then they got given this like sequel to Alien versus Predator that again, that so there's an element that was introduced at the very end of the first movie that is a pivotal part of the sequel. It's one of the coolest concepts ever in any Alien or Predator movie, and they gave it to like literally the worst people that they possibly could have given it to. Like it just blows my mind to this day. And now I'm really hoping. I know Fede Alvarez, who did Alien Romulus, recently came out in an interview saying that he would love to work with Dan Trachtenberg, who did Prey, to do an Alien
Oh.
versus Predator. If Fox lets them do that, I think it would be the best Alien versus Predator we've gotten to date for sure.
And honestly, going back to what you were saying, like with like having the coolest idea, like that's always the most frustrating when you have a movie that you want to love because the idea is just so incredible. Like I think I've said it before on live streams, but like my go-to example used to be The Purge, but now my go-to example is Halloween Ends. Like I Halloween Ends, I think the premise is actually, it might be a hot take. I think it's amazing. Like having that idea of having it be where someone is slowly becoming like Michael Myers in almost like a Joker kind of fashion, how the town almost makes that individual become something that he originally wasn't. It's amazing. But like that movie also, just as soon as they focus on Michael Myers like in the sewer, it just immediately fizzled out for me. And I'm just like, oh no, like this is just no, like because I was so interested in that like journey at the beginning, but like that director just always frustrates me because I think he has so many interesting ideas, but just the execution is just like come on, like
Yeah, that's how I felt about Halloween Kills. I thought that Halloween, the like, reboot, re-sequel thing
the
that they
yeah
did,
2018
uh,
one.
right. I thought that was like a cool concept. Like I liked where we saw Jamie Lee Curtis at that point, even though it like kind of it obviously undoes bunch of movies that have already come out in the franchise, which is not something I'm a fan of in any franchise. A remake, reboot, that's one thing. If you tell me you're starting from scratch, all right. But you're gonna like bring back cast members and erase certain sequels. I hate that. But um that 2018 movie I thought was pretty solid for what it was. Like it wasn't like the
Mhm.
best Halloween film, but it was like a nice return to form. And then for the sequel, Halloween Kills, to be like this whole like I remember the marketing, like the town's going after Michael Myers. I'm like, hell yeah.
The
Like I
marketing
was
was
hyped.
good.
And only for the movie to come out, and it's just like you got Jamie Lee Curtis in a hospital bed for the entire film. Her daughter, who was a big part of the first movie, who she like trained to like fight Michael Myers, is killed off like no problem. And everybody that's in the town that's coming to kill him is
Oh,
killed
that's
is killed.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
Everybody's slaughtered. Everybody is slaughtered immediately. So there's really not a fight again until the end where they try to fight him, but he just kills everybody like no problem.
And they bring the
And then
police officer back. Like I thought he died for sure in the first one, but he somehow survived.
right,
Um,
right,
and then also they just I don't know, it was just like take a shot every time they say tonight's the night he died. It was just like, oh my
right,
goodness. Like
right.
but I love the score. Like that's the thing with that trilogy. Like I listened to that score for all three movies so many times. Like I think those
Right.
scores are incredible. And
I
it's
would say
just
that
it
the Halloween movies in general have a great like have
yes.
usually have good music, It's kind of how I feel about like the Nightmare on Elm Street films too. Like I love the first one, I love the third one, I love the seventh one. I love Freddy versus Jason, and I honestly don't mind the remake, but man, and then but 2, 4, 5, and 6, 6 being the worst, absolutely terrible. But um the musical scores throughout in that classic Freddy theme is just always it always hits the ears just right, even in the worst movie in the franchise.
And score is a big thing for me, especially in like horror
Right.
films. Like I love it when like for me, my favorite horror film is Silence of the Lambs, but I would say arguably my favorite horror theme song would probably be Halloween. Like I think that that score is it's so catchy, and I just think that all the riffs of it that John Carpenter does with multiple collaborators, I just think it's so good. Like
Right.
it's also just perfect to play like late at night. Like it's so good. Um, oh, we do have some comments. I just noticed.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Ace Pletz says, "What's up, man? Dude, Ace, how you doing, man? Let me know how far into The Sopranos you are. We talk on the side, and he's started watching The Sopranos. And he's the one that
Nice.
recommended I'm watching Sons of Anarchy as well. Um, trying to. I'm
Not
right now. I'm
I've
trying
never
to think
I've
of
never seen
watch
that
it.
one. I've never seen Sons of Anarchy. My sister used to be crazy about it. I just never got around to it, but I've heard it's good.
It's I'm conflicted about it, to be honest.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, like, if the filmmaking was good, then I think I could let something slide. But I'm just not really invested in the filmmaking. Like, even some of the music choices, like it's one of those shows that's very heavy on soundtrack, like lyrical based music as opposed to like score. So when they actually are playing like lyrical music, it's supposed to be during these like emotional scenes, but they're playing like this country music type stuff during these emotional moments, and it just doesn't really resonate with me. I'm just like, okay. It's like a good example would be we were talking earlier about Civil War. It's like with Civil War, where during a pivotal moment, I think it was like at the end of the second act, where someone dies, and all of a sudden they play like this country music. It's like, oh no, no, and I'm just like, I don't care. I'm sorry. Like, and I feel terrible saying that because it's like I know there's a lot of people that love country music, but it's just when I think about country music, I don't think emotional, like sad. I just think of like, oh, just like what they play at Cracker Barrel. I don't know. Like, maybe it's just my ignorance, but like I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know.
No,
That's just what I think about.
no,
I'm
I
like,
feel
just
you,
pick
man.
another song, or like a different genre.
Right. I'm always gonna prefer score over soundtrack, kind of like you. I think there's some things like I have a special place in my heart. Like, funny enough, my favorite soundtrack of any movie, with a lot of the songs not even appearing in the movie. When they back in the day when there'd be a bunch of songs on the CD, but they're not in the
Hmm.
movie at all. Um, is the Daredevil one with Ben Affleck,
I
which is
still need
just
to
like,
watch that.
really, you've never seen that movie?
I was
If you'll
planning to
probably think it's
actually.
you'll probably think it sucks. I won't lie. You'll probably think it sucks. Most people do. I love it. Maybe ironically, I think because it also came out when a time before we had a lot of comic book movies. My young self was just so excited to have a Daredevil movie, but I love the soundtrack. There there is musical score elements, but the movie is filled with a bunch of like rock, new metal, and like punk songs from the
Oh,
early 2000s and the late 90s that I just love. It just was my personality as a young kid. Like, things like Fuel and Evanescence and Seether, all these like hard rock bands and that little edgy like music. I don't know why, but I love that soundtrack.
in regards to like Daredevil, there's certain early 2000 superhero movies that I miss that I've been meaning to watch, such as Daredevil, Elektra. I haven't seen Catwoman. I know that's supposed to be one of the worst.
Both of
Trying to think of
those you
somebody
just
else.
mentioned, Elektra and Catwoman, are unfortunately two of the worst comic book movies ever, dude.
Ever I've
Like,
heard.
the first Daredevil, I genuinely think has like some campy redeeming qualities. It's not great, especially when you see what they did with the Netflix show where it really captures
Yeah,
Daredevil. Like, that show's phenomenal. So
I
in
do like that one.
comparison, like Charlie Cox's performance with the blind performance and everything is so convincing. When you
He's
look at
good.
Ben Affleck, it's like it's laughable in comparison, because Ben Affleck just looks like he looks like a cross-eyed cat versus like trying to look blind. Um, but there's parts about that movie, man. I don't really know how to describe it. Like, it feels like it captures. I remember when I used to love watching the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s that used to be um like they used to play, like I think it was just called like the Spider-Man the show, or Spider-Man the animated series.
I remember
Um
that. I didn't watch it. I watched the, like the '60s show. I
yeah, I
forget what
watched
that
that
one.
too, yeah.
Yeah, that one I enjoyed.
I have
But
the collection actually, and I was surprised to go online and find that it's actually worth like a decent amount of money. Like, not too much, but
no,
like a
no
hundred and something
joke.
bucks.
I think my parents might still have it, but I'm no joke. I legit looked it up the other day because I was like, I don't know. I was kind of feeling like I don't feel it too often, but I was kind of feeling nostalgic for it because I was just remembering like how funky the score was. So I was like, oh, let me check it out again, and I was like, oh, let me see if I can find it. And it's not on any streaming services. It's the DVD, like you said, it's really expensive. So I'm like, well, I guess I didn't check the library though. Maybe I'll check the library and maybe I'll watch
Yeah,
it. But
it
like,
has a lot of discs because there's actually
yeah,
a way more. I gave it a watch when I first got it years ago. I've been wanting to go back and revisit it. But after like, it's so funny. After the first few discs, all the first few discs are all the episodes I remembered watching on TV as a kid, like with the classic episodes with Doctor Octopus and Lizard and all these different iconic Spider-Man villains. And then like the latter half of the collection is just like the most like rinse and repeat like villain of the week like Spider-Man episodes.
Oh, dude, not even that. Like, I remember, and I guess I probably should have known I was going to be a critic someday, like at a young age. I remember being young and I was just like, they're using a lot of the same, like, and I said shots at the time, but I was like, now I know it's animation. I'm like, they're using a lot of the same animation that they used in like previous episodes. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why are they
Yeah,
doing
there's a
this?
lot
Like,
of that. He swings and does the same swing in like different
mhm.
backgrounds like all the entire time. But but yeah, so the show from the 90s though, the Spider-Man the animated series was great. And a couple of times in there, a couple of characters from other shows or from just other Marvel characters would appear. And what one of those was Daredevil. Daredevil appeared, I remember specifically for like a special. And yeah, I just felt like that movie kind of captured the cheesy tone of like the cartoons I grew up watching. I think that's why I like the Daredevil movie. Again, it's not great. I'll look forward to your Letterbox review if you ever check it out.
I'll try to watch it. I specifically have interest in, I think there's a director's cut. So I'll
Yeah,
definitely try to track that down because I
that
feel
one's
like
that's definitely the better cut of the movie. It adds just more context to
and
certain
it's R
things.
rated instead of PG-13.
Right, right, and it's not like overly like bloody or like R, I guess you could say,
Yeah,
but
like
it's
hard R,
it's
it's not.
yeah, yeah.
David Picture says, "Hey," as well as they suck in regards to the Alien vs Predator movies.
Yeah,
I
fair
still do
enough,
want to
man.
check them out though. I always saw the DVD covers at my local library, so like I've always been curious to watch them, but like I wasn't allowed to watch them growing up.
Right.
But I definitely want to check them out at some point.
Yeah, they're guilty pleasure material for sure. Except for the second one. That was terrible.
That one's yeah. Andrew Lay, hello. I saw a notification for the stream an hour ago, but you weren't on, so I went to make pasta. Just finished feeding Michael Corleone, and you're live, perfecto. I love this. Andrew Lay is in New Zealand. A lot of my subscribers are like from other countries. Like most of
That's awesome.
yeah, that's why I post usually my videos at like 2 a.m. because like dude, I kid you not, like all my traffic is around that time. Like I wish I was a night owl the way I used to be because like between 2 to 4 a.m. I get like most of my comments. And of course, most of the time I'm asleep around that time. So I'm just like I get to it when I get to it. But
Right.
yeah, I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, it's the next day. I think it's probably like I'm gonna take a guess. I think it's like 3 p.m. with where he's at. Let me know, Andrew. But it's like the time zone is just it's so interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Can't articulate says what is up. Can't articulate. I look forward to
Well,
seeing what you're watching. I'm sorry I haven't been keeping up with what you've been watching today. I haven't really been on Letterboxd. Today was just so hectic. But I look forward to seeing what you're watching. These Palettes. Where are you at? Sons of Anarchy, and I've seen the first 2 episodes of season 2 of The Sopranos so far. So I'm at I think it's season 5, episode 7. And season 5 it's a slog to get through. Like I love morally gray characters, but like I also don't like it when characters are just like they think they're morally like up like righteous where it's like I'm better than everybody. I know exactly how to live my life and everything. And then it's like they're doing pretty much the exact same things that are going against their codes and everything. And I'm just like, I know that that's realistic, but like I just also don't find the character interesting. So it makes it like just a frustrating experience. Like the way that a lot of people feel about Skylar and Breaking Bad, which I don't the way people feel about that, I feel about like some of the characters with Sons of Anarchy. So it's I want to finish the show, and I'm still going with an open mind, but I'm just like I don't know. At this point, I think Jax is one of the only characters I still care about. Like I'm curious to see where he's gonna go, but I don't know. Again, it would be a different story if the filmmaking was so good. Like it's so forgettable. It's just like rinse and repeat, like in terms of how they go about it. And it doesn't help also that I think they shot it on video. They didn't shoot it on film, or they might have shot it on early digital. So it has this like ghastly like gray look to it. Like it's hard to explain. Like, but That's my Sunday anarchy rant.
I'm gonna have to check that out sometime. And just funny enough, just because you mentioned it, today I actually filmed my retrospective review. That's gonna be pretty long, so God bless anybody who watches it. But
I'm ready.
um, retrospective review for Breaking Bad. I just did a full rewatch of Breaking Bad. So I
Oh,
just filmed
dude,
that
I'm
today.
rewatching that right now, actually.
Yeah, I just showed it to my wife her first time. So it was nice to
Oh,
rewatch it. And yeah, so that video maybe up tomorrow, maybe up Monday. Not sure yet.
I'm excited, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'll probably watch the first like fourth of your video, and then once I'm caught up, because right now I'm on rewatch. I'm season 2, episode 8, which is the episode that they're introducing like Saul.
Right.
And my wife's seen the show before, but she had like the last time I watched the show was 2019, and she went into it on season 3, like so she watched 3, 4, 5, but she saw the whole show like a decade ago. So like she like some of the stuff that's happening, she um like doesn't really know what to expect. Like she doesn't know with the whole plane situation. So like I can't wait to see her reaction with that at the end of season 2, because that is honestly like one of the pivotal moments that like just made me fall in love with TV as well. Because I'm like, dear Lord, like that is amazing storytelling. Because like you're constantly like, what's with the black and white, like Schindler's List esque like style filmmaking with the beginning of these episodes, and then it beautifully ties in at the end of season 2, and it's just sorry. Now I'm going around Breaking Bad, except in a positive way. Like I love
No,
that show.
I mean I'm all for it, dude. I was really excited to talk about it. It was something I was hesitant after I did finish the rewatch. Like, do I want to do a video? It's like a show. Like, like what can I really add to the conversation other than just my own personal opinion? Um, but yeah, it's got to be like one of the best like drama shows of all time. Like without a doubt.
100%.
Like Vince
I
Gilligan's
like The
writing
Sopranos.
is
I like The
top tier.
Sopranos, and I respect that it paved the way for Breaking Bad. But like, it's no question in my mind which is the better show. I just like watching The Sopranos. It took me a year to finish, and I just Breaking Bad. Like, there's that constant want to continue with the next episode. Like, one of my friends years ago when I started watching Breaking Bad, like he described it best. Like it's literally digital crystal meth. Like you can't help but want to continue watching that show. Like it's great.
Oh yeah,
Andrew Lay.
absolutely incredible.
Oh wait, my bad. I just realized I went past Andrew Lay's comment. I pulled it up, but I didn't read it. The Silence of the Lambs is great, but I just can't get over the shaky cam opening following Clarice running in the woods. Just not my thing. Oh, that's a shame. I honestly love that opening because it's so unique with that genre, because most genres start with like a breaking and entering, like trying to stop like a crime, and then this film, it's like she's going in the woods. It's so desolate to show that she is pretty much beside herself in regards to like being a part of the FBI. And then it leads perfectly into that elevator scene where it's like she's like 5'1", 5'2", and she's surrounded by men, and it's just like, I don't know, the visual storytelling of that film is amazing. Like I watch it every Halloween, and I think it's incredible. And I watched the TV show. Anthony, have you seen the TV show Hannibal?
I haven't. No, no.
Oh, dude, you should watch it. Like that, I think you would. I think you would like it, but season 3 you might struggle with a bit, because that's where some viewers kind of dip, because it goes full art house like in season 3, but it also makes sense in regards to thematically. But like I think you'll genuinely love season 1 and 2, because like the body horror it's phenomenal. Like it's really good.
I'll have to check that out at some point. Yeah, it's like that's one of those that I've wanted to go back and revisit too. Is Silence of the Lambs and some of the like the sequels and spinoffs that came out.
I've
Which
seen
is
them all. Yeah.
yeah, I've seen them. It's just been a long time. Other like in terms of like the movies, I've seen the movie like spinoffs and like the sequel with what was it Julianne Moore that was in the sequel as Clarice, which is just a strange choice. Um,
Yeah, I want to like that sequel. I really do, but I just think it's okay. Um,
yeah, I
it's
mean
it's
it's hard when you have like Anthony Hopkins is still in that movie, right? It's been a long time, but like he's still in that
yeah.
movie, and then you have Julianne Moore. it just feel like that anytime that happens, it's weird. It's one thing to cast a character that maybe isn't like the central character, but like
A main character.
yeah, or because I was gonna think of like I was thinking like Iron Man, like obviously them casting like recasting Rhodey in the next movie. It's at least you can kind of like roll with it, even though he was a big part of the first movie and he is a significant role in the second one too. But I feel like that one worked, and thankfully, like Don Cheadle, like kind of made it his own moving forward. But
He was good.
it is tough when that kind of thing happens, man. The recast, unless it's like there's a significant age up, like you're going from like Jake Lloyd and the Phantom Menace to Hayden Christensen, Attack of the Clones, like that. Then my mind can at least buy into like the actor change.
Because it's been so
Otherwise,
long.
right? Otherwise, it's like, dude, like
They probably shouldn't have made it. Like, to be honest with you, like I enjoy it, but a lot of those story beats that are in that movie, they do show up in the TV show Hannibal. And so for me, seeing it done in Hannibal, it's so much better. Like it's not even a question. Although there is the famous scene with Ray Liotta in Hannibal, the movie, that is memorable for sure, and it definitely sticks with you. But the show is just, I usually prefer films, but the TV show just does such a great job. I like I said, I would highly recommend it. If you ever want to do a review for that, I'm always down to talk about that because that show, I remember my filmmaking teacher, like when I was in high school, the show I think just started its first season, and he told me straight up, like, dude, like you love cinematography, like this has some of the best cinematography, if not the best I've ever seen, and like to this day, I don't disagree with that. I do think it's incredible. It has a very distinct look, and it's just kind of crazy because I think it's an NBC show, but like they get away with a lot of stuff, dude. Like it's very violent, like stomach churning violent in some instances. Like you definitely won't forget about it. That's for sure.
damn. All right, yeah, I'll have to put it on my list. Really
uh,
quickly, I just want to make a quick note. I'm gonna
oh
look.
yeah.
I'm gonna be listening, and I'm gonna be chiming in here. But I just wanted to at least be courteous enough to say my wife is blowing me up right now, texting me. So just
Oh,
if I'm
okay.
looking down, texting really quickly, that's why. But
Dude,
I'm
that's fine.
listening.
Yeah, I have.
I'm familiar.
It looks like there's some comments. So yeah, that's
Yeah, go for it.
clearly good. Angela Kubrick and Tarantino have the best picks for soundtracks. Yeah, they both are incredible. I would also add Danny Boyle to the mix. Like I think Transpotting has one of, if not the best soundtracks. Like it's so good. Let's see. David Pictures thoughts on Madam Web. I didn't like Madam Web. I my experience with it in theaters, like I kind of wish was better because I saw it with a crowd, I think of like 10 people, and all 10 people were like really into it. Like they were super serious. They didn't laugh. There was no emotions with the crowd. So even though there were instances where I wanted to laugh, like because of some of it being unintentional, like I at the same time like don't want to be disrespectful to other audience members. So I was just like I didn't like it was just one of those things where I was just like I can't really have a reaction, and I also just like this is kind of boring. Like like and I saw all the like I saw all the potential with it, but just the execution, it was just like, oh my goodness, like really? Did
Yeah.
you like it? No, you didn't like it. You didn't like it.
I wasn't a fan. I didn't hate it as much as everybody else, but like that's not really like I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which I know some people gave it way worse. I feel like I've just seen like way worse films this year, or like just in general, like that. Like it just like I saw some people giving it like half stars. I'm like, I don't know if it's a half star.
That was
You gave
me.
it a half star,
I
okay,
did. I
fair enough.
just, dude, it
Don't
was
get me
one of
wrong,
those things where like
it was an
the
absolute
ADR.
shit show in comparison to I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cuss on here, by the way. I've been trying to be conscious of that.
No, no, you're good, dude.
It was an absolute like in comparison to the comic, like the character, that really is what really blew my mind. Like for me more than anything. I know we've talked before, like you're not super into like the comics and stuff like that, but that character is like she's an old lady 9 times out of 10. There are a couple of comics that have shown her to be younger, but she
Right.
plays like this old woman sage like multiversal spider character that like almost plays as like a weird antagonist at times. Like she has her own agenda, but like kind of like a mentor figure, or like kind of like, like that old wizard kind of like woman that you come like speak to get a side quest or something that Spider-Man would reach out to for like assistance. Um, so
Well,
to give
that's what I was gonna say. Like that was my biggest issue, besides the terrible ADR and visual effects.
right.
Like the fact that they had so many scenes focusing on like Peter Parker's birth, but because of copyright they couldn't say his name. I was just like, why have the scene if you can't say the name? If you literally have an entire scene that's supposed to be a gender and reveal name, what's the point of having this scene if you can't even say the name of the character? I'm just like, why?
Right, right.
Like there was such a big part of that first half where it was just like, why is this being focused on? Like, why? And then I don't know, like the villain at the end dying by a was it a Pepsi? I think it was a Pepsi sign, right? Or was it a Coca-Cola?
Yeah, yeah. Like he's like falls off. I think it was one of those. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was like
Like
if you
soda,
drink
just soda.
Pepsi, you too can kill the villain of the week. Like I don't know, I was just like, dude, like oh, it gave me a headache, honestly, and I
Yeah,
wanted to vibe with it, but I just
it's so funny to see like some of these like product placements nowadays, because like in the
yeah,
past I feel like some of them were blatant, but like they were like they would just be in the background, where you'd be able to be like, like I think about early Marvel movies and like how every time a car pulled up, it was an Audi. It's like, okay, like that
yeah.
that
Well, some
makes
of them
sense.
can be funny. Like Man of Steel, I think was hilarious. Where it's like when he throws Zod through a cornfield and then he ends up getting into a what was it, a gas station, and then right there it's like an IHOP, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Like I don't know, like that I thought was hilarious. But something at the end where it's like a crucial battle, and it's just like, oh, like this is
Yeah.
what kills the villain. Like literally the product placement.
2017 Power Rangers. Have you seen
Did
that
that
movie?
do that? I forgot about that movie, dude.
The
Honestly.
Krispy Kreme. The whole thing was they went to like the thing they were that the villain was looking for was like under the Krispy Kreme. I don't know if
Oh
you've
my
heard of
goodness.
that. So it was like the Krispy Kreme was like the Krispy Kreme became part of the plot for the third act. They were like they had to dig up the Krispy Kreme, and she literally goes there first before Goldar like rips a hole through the top of Krispy Kreme, and she's eating the donuts, and she's like, "This is Krispy Kreme," something along those lines. It's like this has got to be the most blatant use
Yeah,
of product placement I've ever seen in my life. I'm watching Wednesday right now too for the first time. The Tim
I didn't
Burton
see that
Netflix
yet.
series. I'm really enjoying it. I've watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes, but there's like a scene in one of the episodes where Wednesday like picks up a Taco Bell bag and like holds it up to the camera. Like it's meant for humor in the moment because it's found in like a random spot, but like it was like as soon as it happened, my wife was like, "That's product placement if I've ever seen it." Just like literally Wednesday, just holding a Taco Bell bag straight to the camera. Like again, it was played for laughs, but it was like, yeah, okay, that's pretty on the
I
nose.
will say, like, they're like, I know that I'm a David Fincher like fan. We all know this, but I think he has the best product placement where he makes it become like a character trait. Like I know we collaborate on the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and that film,
Right,
like them eating McDonald's, them eating like all these name brand sodas, like it's one of those things where it's like, well, this is clear as day that these characters don't have time to, meal prep. They don't have time to really do anything. And then you see
right,
something like Gone Girl where it's like you don't see any product placement in the early half except for the type of ice cream that Ben Affleck eats. And it makes sense because when you look at the fridge, everything is, Amy makes all this food and everything. And it's like, oh wow. And then not to spoil Gone Girl, but then when a certain reveal happens halfway through and you see Amy eating, I mean, it's not that like organic, healthy food. It's literally a burger from a certain place. So it's like it feels very purposeful, the product placement. And it's like I wish
right.
that more people would look at using it as a way of actually inheriting the characters that are on screen as opposed to just kind of being like, wait a minute, like I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too into it, but it's one of those things where I just can't help but notice where I'm like, this
No,
feels
I
very
mean,
purposeful. Like it
I'm
doesn't
with you,
feel like
man.
blatant.
I'm with you. I'm cool with a little bit, something that could be kind of silly or fun. Um, but yeah, sometimes there are some that are done too much. But as far as Madam Web, yeah, I think it's not as terrible as some say, but like I don't think it's great. And I think as far as like an adaptation of the comic, it's like they took the comic book character and just threw it straight in the trash. Like every
Yeah.
here and there, you see one that's like, okay, they did their own thing, but I can kind of appreciate the approach. No, like this was just like we read the comics with our eyes closed, and then we just threw it right into fire. Like, and we saw the cover, and we like said go. And the fact that they marketed the three girls in the spider suits so heavily, only for that to literally just be dream sequences that never happen. And then at the end of the movie, for to see Dakota Johnson in the horrible, not even comic accurate costume, it was just atrocious. Like, I remember sitting in the theater, like looking at this, like,
Also, like
damn.
the fact that the whole story hinges on like this person having a dream that he's going to get killed by three women, and instead he gets killed by a Pepsi sign. Like, I don't know. Like,
Right, yeah.
I don't know. Like maybe if I were to rewatch it like with friends, like I would get the camp, but I watching it alone in a theater of people that were vibing with it, like didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that one at an early press screening, and it was just me and like 7 or 8 other critics, like, spread out throughout the theater, and it was just dead silent the entire movie, like, not a single peep. That's always interesting for some of these, like, early early screenings I get to go to, is that sometimes it's just, like, silent. If the movie's not good, it's just, or, like, it's not clicking with people, it's just silent. You could hear a pin drop because there's only a few of us, and then every here and there you go to like the big ones where like every critic everywhere shows up to that movie, like Beetlejuice. Like, when I
Oh
went to see
yeah.
Beetlejuice, there was a section at the front for like first come, first serve, like audience members, the people who waited outside in the line. And then the whole, like, as if you were going up the stairs in the theater, the whole backside of the theater was critics and like people that like CarMax was there, and like
Oh wow.
there's like random representatives from different companies. That usually isn't the case, but sometimes it's like that. So I got to see it like in a packed theater of people that were invited, and everybody seemed to be like laughing or enjoying it or not enjoying it, whatever. Um, but yeah, Madam Web was just one of those where it was just like
Okay.
silent.
Oh, David Picture also says I'm watching from Hawaii. Ha, ha, ha. That also has a big time zone. Like back when I did
That's
collections,
crazy.
like I think it's a 5 hour time zone. So I think right now actually he's behind us. So 5:29, I think, PM Eastern time. Ace Plus, yeah, I think of the later seasons 5 is the weakest. That's good to know because I'm hoping season 6 and 7 are good. Andrew Lay, it's a 2:15 in the afternoon here, but our clocks are about to change soon because summer is coming. Can't wait. Oh wow. Yeah, dude. See, this is what I love. Like hearing all the different like time zones. There's
Yeah,
a lot of because
you're
I've been
Eastern too, right?
yes, yeah, because I know you're Florida. I know I'm PA, so we're both
Yeah.
Eastern. Yeah, I like the Eastern time zone honestly, but I always have to try to make sure to emphasize like with my videos, like if I have it where it's like people can be notified, I try to always make sure to say, hey, it's going to be Eastern time, or even like with live streams, like while I'm doing it, say, hey, it's 9:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Right, yeah. Especially when you're like doing, like, for me, whenever I'm doing collabs with people that are from
Yes.
different places, or like I had I'll have like my friend Mike from Did You See That on every here and there. And like right now, it's, I think, based on doing videos with him in the past, I think it's like 2 or 3 in the morning over there in
Oh
the
wow.
UK, like where he's at. So like, um, like having him, anytime I have him on, I have to kind of keep in mind doing it earlier in the day is like the evening
Mhm.
for him. Whenever I have him on at like noon, it's like way like he's getting ready for the end of the day already. So it's yeah, you kind of have to keep that in mind sometimes. It's crazy.
And I'm actually, I think Larry Chilson, right, of LC Screen Talk. Well, he's now Larry Chili Boy, but I think you know him, right?
I don't know him. No.
Oh, he's from Colorado, so we're collaborating tomorrow, and he's like, oh yeah, 11 a.m. But I know he's from Colorado, so I'm pretty sure it's for me. I think it's 2 p.m. So I like have to keep that in mind where it's like,
Right,
oh, it's
right,
not 11 my time because it would not work.
right.
Um, Ace Plus says I also think Clay is a pretty good antagonist, and Juice has a pretty tragic story overall, especially later on. And Jax is great, obviously. Clay, he's all right. I love Ron Perlman, um, but yeah, I'll off to the side. I'll let you know like about certain spoilers because in case some of the audience members haven't seen Sons of Anarchy, because I know I've been putting it off for years, but I thankfully avoided all kind of spoilers, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone else. Ace Plus Breaking Bad is a masterpiece. Yes, and it gets better each season. I love how each season builds, like, and just the amount of detail in that show is just it's truly incredible. Angel Lady, I get it. I just prefer Steadicam. I guess that's why I vibe so much with Kubrick and Villeneuve. Only Children of Men is where I love the shaky documentary point of view. That's fair. I mean, steady cameras are great, obviously, but I don't know. I feel like in a film like Silence of the Lambs, having it where there's a couple moments of shaky cam work, it feels very purposeful. Like I look at that film and the cinematography, I think especially just really gets you in the mindset of like Clarice, like especially the POV shots. Like I just think it's so intentional that when I'm watching a film and I notice shaky camera work, I immediately am like, okay, this is purposeful. Why are they doing this? So like even I'm trying to think of a good example off the top of my head. With Children of Men, that's a great example. Like there are plenty of smooth shots, but then during the action scenes, it's like, kind of like shaky camera work. So it's like it makes sense to me because the characters are also kind of in a chaotic situation. Ace Blet's Madam Web is Marv's favorite movie. No, but Marv does have some hot takes. Like we saw Alien Romulus together, and dude, it was hilarious. I know I've said it already on the channel, but for you, Anthony, for some context, Marv and I we saw it, but beforehand he was like, "Dude, you're gonna hate this movie," and I was like, "What do you mean? Like we both haven't seen this movie. Why do you think I'm gonna hate this?" He's like, I watched Stuckman's review, and it just seems like everything that you don't like. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, well, it seems like it's just kind of like, like just fun, like, okay." And I'm like, okay, like I can enjoy fun movies. Like I don't have anything against them. Like I'm just going in with low expectations because I liked, the other two. And he's like, well, that's why you're not gonna like it. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So I'm watching it, and like the first half I'm like loving, and there's a certain cameo that happens, and I'm just like, yikes. Didn't like it as much, but when the movie ended, I was like, all right, I enjoyed that. I thought it was all right. I turned to my friend Marv, and he's like, "What'd you think?" And I was like, "I thought it was all right." And he's like, "Dude, that was like the worst movie I've ever seen." And I'm like, "What?" I was like, "You're the one that was telling me you're gonna love this movie, like no matter what." And I was like, "You're saying it's the worst movie ever?" He's like, "Yeah, negative 26 out of 5." And I'm like, "Marv, like you like no, like there's no way you could be giving this movie that rating." Like I loved it, like because he was just so disappointed. He's like, "I thought that I was gonna love it, that you were gonna hate it." I was like, "Dude, I'm not gonna hate it. Like this movie, like is clearly well put together." Like I was just very fascinated by how well they did with like just really encapsulating the production design of like the original. Like I don't know. Like I couldn't hate that movie. Like, but
Yeah, nah, I'm a sucker, man, for like sci-fi in particular, but like well made, like just like whatever. Your thoughts on the story is like I thought the story was like a good time. I've seen a lot of opinions. I don't know what people expect from Alien. Like the original film, I rewatched it not too long ago when I did my whole thing. It's a great movie for its time. It is very simple. It's not like you know all these characters richly. Like, they get killed off without a whole lot of like depth, but it's about the atmosphere. It's about the
yes.
creation of one of the most iconic movie monsters of all time. It's like it's the tone, it's the sound effects, it's the musical score, it's that retro future kind of look. Like there's so much about it that's like so solid. Um, but it's again, it's not like a groundbreaking narrative thematic like crazy thing, like it's not like overly ambitious narratively. Whereas something like I would say Prometheus is like whether you like it or
Very
not, Ridley Scott
ambitious.
was like swinging for the fences with the lore building in that one.
And I would
Um,
even say Alien Covenant. Like I think that was very
yeah,
ambitious too.
yeah, no, for sure. Even though I really every time I think of Covenant, and I rewatched it recently again, I could really do without the flute scene. Like I understand what it's supposed to mean, that like we're trying to talk about their ability to create and not create. But the
I'll do
line,
the
I'll
fingering.
never forget the first time I saw that in theaters, and he was just like, "Now you blow, and I'll do the fingering." Like the amount of laughs I heard in my theater were unreal. So I watched that with my wife, and she just looked at me like, "The hell was that line?" Like it pulls me out of the movie every time I watch it because it's like it's just strange. Like nobody heard that line and just thought like even at the table read and just said we need to change this now.
So one of the dirty little secrets, and this is what kind of has me both excited and terrified for Gladiator 2 is that it's from what I understand, one of the things that Ridley Scott is known for is sticking to the script. Like
Right.
he does not like to branch off of the script. Like if you write the script, if you write that line, he is going to direct it. He's going to put it in. And that's one of the things with Gladiator that was kind of different is that they were writing the script as they went along, which was like
Right.
insane for like Ridley Scott. But with Gladiator 2, that's not the case. Like, so it's like I'm hoping that that script is great because, like, you saw with Alien Covenant, where it's like what you saw is what you got, and like that kind of line. Like, I enjoy the line, but I felt the same way as you did the first time, where I was like, why? But like, I understand
Well,
now. Like, I'm like, they're not thinking about like things sexually because it's like they're androids, so it's like they are matter of fact, like just taking it as it is, where it's like, oh, this is literally what
well,
you
and
would
it
do.
serves a purpose, right? Like it
Yeah,
serves a purpose in like him trying to like, tell David trying to tell Walter, like show him the fact that his model of Android isn't capable of creating the music in his head. He can only like
right.
do what replicate what he's heard or what he's seen versus David being the dangerous one because he can create in his mind. So I get it. I just feel like we could have found a new avenue to get there is all I'm saying. But going back to Romulus, yeah, man, I thought Romulus was just such a great time on practical effect kind of wise. And I think because I just
Yes.
rewatched them all too, I always felt like Prometheus and Covenant just felt like these outliers. And I like that they tied Prometheus into this movie and like they mentioned Prometheus, you get to hear the Prometheus score, we get to see the black like Prometheus like goo. And everybody has just instantly been like, oh, the human xenomorph hybrid, but it's like it's clear for me, it's like it's clearly an engineer xenomorph hybrid. Like as soon as I saw that little thing open, I'm like, okay, that looks just like an engineer from Prometheus and Covenant. So it's like, and they use the black goo. So at least to me, I mean, I'm sure a human's in there, but it looks just like the engineer. And then the fact that that's mostly practical, like that they actually got this 7 foot 7 inch tall man that to like play this role. And if you look at like, there's that Fede Alvarez released that video recently on Instagram.
That's
Um,
actually that's actually why like I feel like my film critic badge needs to be taken away because I'm not gonna lie, like when I saw that scene, I thought that it was CGI. Like because I guess I didn't think that oh they got someone that tall. I was like, oh, this doesn't look like convincing. Like, why like did they use all this practical effects? And then this scene, it's just very, very, very heavy on CGI. That's quite obvious. But then I saw the behind the scenes and I was like, oh my goodness. So then I was like, maybe it was the theater I was watching it at because it was a different one than the
well, I
normal one
think
I
it is that
saw.
suspension of disbelief too, right? Like
Yeah, that
I
could be.
I thought that was just I thought it was enhanced by CG too, and I thought it looked amazing, but it looked really good, but I thought to myself like, yeah, like all right, well they had to do CG here obviously because this guy's ginormous,
Yeah.
and obviously the tail is CG. There are CG
There's
enhancements
elements,
to the
definitely.
parts that he moves, but like, yeah, man, even that clip that Fede Alvarez put out there, that shot with Kaylee's. Have you seen it that he put on Instagram?
I think I did, but it's been very this year's been very humbling, if you will, in regards to visual effects because Furiosa is one of my favorite films of the year. But even with that film, like when I watched it, whenever I saw the truck scenes, I would always see like how shiny the truck was, and I was like, ooh, I'm like everything looks like in camera, everything looks just like Mad Max Fury, but like that shininess really makes it seem like fake looking. But then I saw the behind the scenes, and I'm like, oh, that was a real truck. Like it just happened to be shiny. And then I was just like really getting into like, I wonder why though in post production it got even shinier. So like that's something I'm still kind of fascinated by.
There are some scenes in that movie though that are what's it called? There are some scenes in that movie that are heavily green screen. And the one particular I remember thinking to myself, because the movie is so beautiful visually in so many
Yeah,
ways, and there is clearly a massive use of practical effects. Not as much as Fury Road, and that much is clear, but like
yeah,
there the one scene that I remember watching in the theater thinking, "Oh my god!" And I saw it in IMAX the first time, so it just stood out even more to me, which was the scene where Furiosa's mom has her like as a young girl on her like on her motorcycle, and they're driving through like a thin tunnel, It's like it's like the scene where her mother ends up getting captured right at the very beginning.
Oh
But when
yeah,
she's
yeah,
driving
yeah.
through, it's like clear that they're on a green screen, like that they're not in a tunnel with like the camera in front of them. Like I remember seeing that scene. And next time you watch it, think about that when you watch it. It's like I remember seeing it and I was just like, dude, it looks so fake. Um, so there was a couple of moments in that movie. But then at the same time, it also has some of the best practical effects and visuals
Of
of
the
the year
year.
too. So it's like it's tough. I think the best this year for me across the board has to be Dune Part 2 still. Um
It's
with Alien Romulus being right behind it because I'm a sucker for monsters and the fact that all the xenomorphs in that movie are pretty much all practical um
it was
is
great.
incredible. Is incredible. Like the scene with her that in the elevator, like where like they think that they took it out and then it creeps out really quickly and comes up to her and like is all up in her face. It looks so good. And I feel like if I was in that same shot as Kaylee Spaney and that thing was coming at me like that, I would look like I was in Alien Romulus too because I
Yeah,
would be horrified. It
it's
would be so
terrifying.
easy. It'd be so easy to act. That's something I've always loved. Going back to movies like Star Wars or something like Jaws. Like my biggest fear of all time is sharks. If I ever was an act, I could never be in a shark movie because I think I would literally like my heart I think would stop. But if I ever had to act with a shark like animatronic, there would be no acting,
Yeah,
because
it'd be
they
very raw.
especially when it's done solidly, when they look good. And so like I think about that or like Jurassic Park. I always think specifically, it's great practical effects throughout the whole movie. The I always think specifically of the scene where the first T-Rex scene when the kids are inside and it's pushing through the glass like ceiling
Oh
and they're holding
yeah,
it up. Like as the actors, that must have been the most intense 45 seconds of their life. And action, like Jesus Christ. This thing is pressing down. And of course, they just have control, but you could see it. The eyes look so real. It's like, and you can tell it's practical. And I always think, oh, that stuff looks great. So Kaylee Spaney acting off of that thing in the movie just looked so good.
she's a good
And
up and coming actress. Like I'm glad to see her in a lot of stuff like Civil War or Priscilla. Like she's good. Oh, by the way,
yeah, I'm
we
really
have
enjoying her.
looks like oh wow, we have a bunch of
Yeah, I've noticed. I'm
um
sorry, I'm talking too much.
no, dude, you're good. You're good. Film kid, I saw Beetlejuice today and I loved it. Dude, I'm glad to hear that. Anthony and I, we were actually talking about this off screen. Anthony, I know, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. I know we were talking about the makeup. Like I thought the makeup was outstanding. Like I couldn't help but just be in awe, especially with like William Defoe, like the makeup they implemented on him. And I don't know,
He
like
looks
I'm usually not the
hilarious.
biggest fan of legacy sequels, but I thought that was quite a charming film. It kind of went off the rails in the third act. Like I think you and I are on the same page with this. There was way too many characters, and I kind of think that they should have gotten rid of the Monica Bellucci character and just focus on that surprise villain. I think that would have been so much more impactful, honestly, because I think that that twist kind of got without spoiling anything. I think that that twist kind of got sidestepped because they then had two villains, and then it's like the one quickly got handled a certain way, and then it was like, but the other one also did. So it's just like you know, I don't know, but I liked it overall.
Yeah, I enjoyed the film. Yeah, but yeah, there's too many characters, too many plot lines that I don't think get enough love. Of course, we don't want to spoil it. The movie just came out, but like, there's one central thing in the story. I mean, you've seen the trailers. You know that like there's kind of an estranged relationship between Winona Ryder and her daughter in the film, played by Jenna Ortega.
And
And
I
there's a
do love that
central
aspect.
I thought that was great. And there's a central reason, there's a thing that disconnects them in the movie that is tackled. And I just felt like the resolution of that was like, woohoo, just like it was quick. It was like it just came to an end so fast where I was like, I wish the movie would have been more about that. Like it would have been more about like getting Beetlejuice involved for that, like because I feel like that's really where the heart of the movie was. Whereas like the romance element with Justin Theroux, could have thrown that out the window. Didn't like it at all. Monica Bellucci, I liked her as a character. I
I like
liked
the
the concept.
backstory. I thought the backstory was
Right.
fascinating.
Well, I thought it was perfect because in the last movie, he briefly, which I guess doesn't make sense here because all her body parts are like in a box in this movie, but he when he's gonna marry Winona Ryder's character in the first movie, he pulls out the finger with the ring on it. He goes, "She didn't mean nothing to me," and he throws it away.
Yeah.
But it was just like perfect. Like it's what a small little thing from the first movie to like make a big part of the next one, and then you just do nothing. You do nothing with it. Like she's just kind of like present. But then there's things like Willem Dafoe, who I think was the funniest character in the whole movie. Like,
He was honestly probably the best part for me, honestly. Like having
right,
him, especially just I liked how he was a former actor that was then like a police chief. Like I thought that element was just so good.
right. And then of course
Um,
they had to kind of like dance around how they included Jeffrey Jones's character, um,
yes.
because of
Yeah.
reasons reasons outside of filmmaking. It's just such a shame, right? Like he probably could have made this movie feel even better as a legacy sequel if he wasn't a scumbag outside of you know.
Unfortunately. The View with Drew. Hey everyone, what's up? The View with Drew. It's good to see and hear from you, man. I have awesome news. I was at a karaoke night. It went great. Dude, that's awesome.
It's awesome.
I have never done karaoke. Anthony, have you ever done karaoke?
No, no. I used to sing in a band, so I've definitely performed like singing and stuff like that, but I've never done karaoke. It's so funny. I used to sing in a band and I used to um like sing like in my like church when I was religious when I was a kid. And I used to play drums at the church and stuff. So like I have no problem like playing on a stage, but there's something about the idea of like, the teleprompter and like everybody watching you to just go up there and sing this song, like kind of
Yeah.
on the in the moment that it just has never appealed to me. Like I've been to places where people are doing karaoke, but I've never had the balls to go up and do it myself.
I'm like you. I give people props for being able to do that, but for me, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Um, oh, David Pictures became a YouTube member. That is awesome, dude. Thank you
That's
very
awesome.
much. I really appreciate it. The View with Drew. I did 3 songs. Wake Me Up When September Ends by Green Day. Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, and DJ got Falling in Love by Usher. That's
Those are
awesome, man.
ambitious songs to sing, very different.
That I mean, yeah. um, Joseph Guerrero is in the house. Just hopping in to say hi, dude. Always good to hear from you, man. Can't articulate is articulating. I love this. Sorry, Chad. I'm not really feeling Twin Peaks. Season 1 is all right, but season 2 is kind of a drag to get through. So I'll go on a brief rant with Twin Peaks because I'm actually rewatching that right now. So this is just someone that's a huge fan of the show. Season 1, I love personally. I think it's great, especially once you know everything that happens in the show. It enhances all the elements of season 1. Season 2, this time around, what I'm doing is I'm on episode 2 of season 2. I'm only going to be watching episode 1 to 9 and then episode 21 to 22. So I'm skipping all the middle episodes because they are filler. There was a lot of behind the scenes drama with ABC when that show came out. So, I feel your pain with like, the first time watching that show. Like those middle episodes are like painful to get through because it's like, what is happening? What are we doing here? But I do think that if you're into like experimental filmmaking, it's all worth it for watching the Twin Peaks return, like the one that came out 25 years later. But let me know why you feel it's just all right. I'm very curious. But season 2, I can get behind that. Also, Andrew Lay, plenty of comments. I love this. Y'all from Pennsylvania, Florida, yo, the rock stars of every U.S. election season. I feel bad for you with the bombardment of political ads, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
feel
mean, I
like
feel like that's just the states, man. Like
yeah.
we're so heavily political these days. Like, I mean, not that we weren't before, but like I feel like the internet just makes it all seem substantially louder. And
Especially your state, though, Anthony, because I feel like Florida always is like the pivotal state in regards to like the election. PA
Florida
too, but
Florida's weird, man, because so I grew up in South Florida in the Miami area. I live more in like the central Florida area now, but um I lived in Miami area and down Miami can be like a mix of like it's a melting pot, right? It's interesting because it's a melting pot. Like I graduated from a small private school class, but like everybody in my class was from different races. Like I'm Hispanic. I had white people in my class, black people in my class from all different places. People from Haiti, people from Jamaica. I had Hispanic people from different places. I had somebody in my class from Africa, I had somebody from the Philippines. Like I just had a melting pot, and that's kind of how that area is down there. There's sections that are like heavily like the area I grew up in. It's called Hialeah. If you're from Miami, you know what Hialeah is, but it's like literally where anybody that comes from Cuba and gets off the boat goes and
Oh
goes right
wow.
there, like pretty much. And like there's like sections that are like predominantly black, and there's like sections that are kind of like a mix of all cultures. There are parts that are ghetto, there are parts that are a little nicer, there's parts that are like the Miami Beach thing that everybody thinks of, but it's this weird kind of like it's different down there. There's like the tone is different when you come up to like the central Florida area. Depending on what side you're on, you can either be like super country, like people who are like Confederate flags and like want to like definitely the people with like that are driving on their trucks with like Trump like all
Yeah.
over their stuff, which is like,
This is
hey,
my
like,
personality.
right, exactly. Or like I've driven past people in certain parts here that are like they have like I saw a dude one time that had a pickup truck and he had like a overlay on the back of the pickup truck with the door up that looked like he had Joe Biden trapped in the pickup truck, which was hilarious. But then like in this like closer to like the Disney area and the Universal Studios area, there's like a lot of like young people of all kinds of like different kinds of people. It's like a kind of a melting pot again. And then if you go more north, closer to like the Carolinas and Georgia, it's like super, super like predominantly like white in a lot of those areas, and predominantly like very like a lot more country, it gets a little bit more southern. Like people think of the South, Florida is technically in the South, but the further you go down Florida, the more like I don't know, it doesn't feel as southern as it does on the top part of Florida. So it's a
The
weird
weird
state,
mix.
dude. Like, because then you also have crazy people of all kinds. That's where you get the classic Florida man like thing. Because you see, I mean, I see
And
Florida men,
that's every state. Like you're always going to come
right?
across people that
Well, we got the classic label of the Florida man, like the crazy. We had that whole dude thing like over 10 years ago now, where like a dude
I mean, hey,
snorted bath salts and ate somebody's face off. And there's people over here that just wrestle alligators for fun all the time, and like just like it's a weird state, dude.
PA is no better though. Like there's a lot of stereotypes of like PA where it's like, one of the most fierce in regards to like the entertainment industry, like one of the most fierce fan bases with like football, baseball, and everything. And it's like, I don't know, for me as someone that's not really into sports as much, like I used to be back in the day, but I just for me, I'm just like, guys, like just be accepting of other teams. Like just it's okay if someone else likes another team, like that's okay. But like most people are like, no, you can't like this other team, and I'm just like, guys, like it's entertainment. Like just relax. Like
Right,
come on
right.
now. I don't know, but I do love this comment though. Andrew Layoff says, "Vice anyone? I love me some chubby Christian Bale." I love that movie. Anthony, did you like Vice?
I never saw Vice. I know what movie it is. I
Oh,
saw the trailers. I missed it. I never got around to it, but it is one that's always been on my list to
it's so
catch.
good.
I can't remember what happened, man. I remember seeing the trailers. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go see this. And then I just, I'm sure you have movies like that on your list too that you just never saw in theaters, and you didn't mean to miss them. You just haven't gone around to them.
And to be fair, it came out around award season, so as you know, it's like around that time of year you get thrown like an overwhelming amount of movies. So it's like there's always going to be some that you miss. So it's like I get that.
Right.
Andrew Lay don't want to get political, but talking about Vice, the Cheneys came out saying they'd be voting Dems. Yeah, honestly, which I'm happy to hear about because again, not to get too political, I do think that there's a certain candidate that let's just say that if he were trying to do any other job, he probably wouldn't get the job. That's all I'm going to say. So it's like it should be pretty clear as day, regardless of like which affiliation you have. Like I'm an independent, so it's like I don't have really a hat in either arena, but I'm just like saying it's pretty obvious. Like come on now, but
Yeah, it's gonna be
even
an
as
interesting chunk of years for us here in the States, man. I think at the end of the day, two guys like you and me who just want to talk about the next movie, we really don't have any say in anything. Yeah, we can go vote, but it's like we're just gonna ride the wave of whatever decisions are made on our behalf, and just kind of be sitting here like, all right, well, I'll be at the movies on Thursday. bombs
Yeah.
blowing up around us and shit.
Where it's like Civil War in real life.
Right. I'll just be like, dude, somebody's got a gun at me. Like, what kind of American are you? The American who wants to go to the movies.
I love that. Oh, Angel, like, oh wow, those were the lines for Prometheus flute scene. I never paid attention to it. It went over my head. I'm too innocent. LOL. Alien Covenant, but
Yeah, Alien
yes,
Covenant.
yeah, I'll never forget seeing that. Actually, the first time I saw Alien Covenant, I didn't like it, but I rewatched it and I liked it much better.
Yeah, I felt the same way. The first time I watched Alien Covenant, I was like, but I enjoyed it a lot more on this rewatch. And I think also part of it is when I watched them in release order, and 3 and 4, especially 4 Resurrection is not a good movie. Um, so to get to have you seen Resurrection? Have you,
That's the only one I think I haven't seen besides the
dude, I
Alien
would
versus Predator.
love to hear your thoughts on that movie, man. It is the strangest concept to me. It's strange to me those movies in general. Sorry to bring it back to Alien, but like they did Alien, great like horror, movie, and they do Aliens. It's like this switch it up to like action. It's a fun movie. It's got one of the best like endings of the whole franchise with like the queen and like how practical it is. It's super cool. Everybody gets away, or at least the characters we're caring about, they get away safely in their little cryo chambers. And then you watch the third one, and they're like, "Oh yeah, everyone died except for in this thing, except for Ripley." Yeah, it just so happened a face hugger got on and killed everybody except for Ripley. So now she's in this prison with a bunch of like religious like murderers and rapists. It's like, okay, it was strange choice. And then
I wanted I to be honest with you, just not to pay you off, but like I'm a huge Fincher fan, but Alien 3 is the only Fincher fan like film where I'm like, I'm not a fan of. Like it's
yeah,
just
and I
I
think
like
it's
the
like his
concept,
first
but
movie, right? Like I think it's his first like theatrical like feature film. So it's
and the
like I
studio
can give
took
him
it
some.
away from him. So there was a lot of like behind the scene issues.
Right, right. And like that movie is like, okay, like the movie I hate when the beginning of one movie undoes the last one. I hate that so much. So that does that, and then whatever. It's like they give her like a sacrificial death at the end of the movie. And then the fourth movie, I, I don't want to spoil it for you, bro, but it's like they jump like a few hundred years into the future, and they like it's like they bring. I'll just say this: Sigourney Weaver is back, and they clone her to bring her back, but it's not fully her,
Oh
and
gosh.
it's just straight. The tone of that film is so strange. It feels like really like sporadic and just kind of like there's action scenes where the camera just feels like it's like like on people's faces and like it just feels like it loses what the movie is about. You got Winona Ryder in there as like an android, like Ron Perlman screaming like a bunch of misogynistic things in there. Like the movie is like it's interesting, and then it has an ending where like I think you will appreciate the filmmaking, like just like me. Like there's some great practical effects. You got Brad Dourif in there as well,
Oh,
famously Chucky, like, tons of actors in there, but the movie is just, like, so
got
strange
it.
conceptually, like, it's like there's a basketball scene, that's all I'll say, there's a basketball scene in the movie that has to do with Sigourney Weaver playing basketball, and it is just the first thing is, we're talking about Alien, and why is there a scene with Sigourney Weaver playing basketball? We'll just leave it at that, but anyway,
I
you can keep
wonder.
going.
I wonder because there's a brief, very brief moment in Prometheus where David like gets a basketball and shoots a basket. I wonder if that was like a little homage to Alien Resurrections in that case. Again, I haven't
Yeah,
seen Alien Resurrections, but I'm like, because as soon as you said
maybe.
basketball, I was like, oh yeah, there's one brief, very brief moment in Prometheus.
Maybe, yeah. I didn't think about that. I don't think anything needs to reference resurrection.
Joseph Guerrero, Dune 2 or The Challenger for Best Movie. Both funny enough with Zendaya. So for me, it's Challengers. Like, no question. I've seen that movie 3 times now, although I've seen Dune Part 2 3 times as well. But Challengers legit made me interested in the sport of tennis. Like, I play tennis now twice a week with my wife. Excellent exercise. I'd recommend it to everyone. I burn like 400, 500 calories playing it. It's great. What about you, Anthony? Like, which do you prefer, Challengers or Dune Part 2? Or is there another one that's your top for the year? I think it's
So,
part 2,
uh,
right?
yeah, so I'm a little torn, right? My film criticism mind is Dune Part 2, okay? Um, but that part of me that got into movies as a kid for just like the feel good enjoyment is Deadpool and Wolverine. And the reason
Really?
for that is because when I was a kid, man, before I really got into like movies on a critical level, I just loved watching movies, good or bad, man. I loved watching schlocky horror. I'm a big schlocky 80s horror fan. Half of those movies are trash, but I love them. Like I'm wearing a horror shirt right now with most of those characters on it. And I just love watching them. Like there are movies that are great that I've only seen a couple of times, and like the worst Freddy movie I've seen like dozens of times, like legitimately dozens of times on Halloween's and like different things like that. All that to say, as a kid as well, I was really big into comic book movies. Like I used to read the comics. I used to be teased in class for reading comics long before these things were popular. Um, and so I would keep up with the video games and the cartoons. And so when I started seeing the X-Men movies and I started watching, like we were talking about Daredevil earlier, like that holds a significant place in my heart, you know. So we got a lecture, a Blade. I was growing up with all these different movies and all these things from the Fox era, the Fantastic Four movies. Like, and I had so many people telling me they were bad. I just didn't care, you know, Ghost Rider, like stuff like that. And there are bad ones in the mix. You know, I don't think all of these are great movies, but I just loved being able to watch them. And so for me, Deadpool and Wolverine was not only like a fun MCU installment, like my critical mind's like it's a very simple story. It's not groundbreaking narratively in any way, shape, or form. But the entertain like what it made me feel as a fan of the comic books and as a fan of the MCU, it gave me like a sense of validation for the years of like loving those movies, you know. And if you've seen the movie, you know that the credits kind of show like a fun reel of like behind the scenes of a bunch of films in the comic book genre that came out under the Fox banner. And like as soon as I was like sitting there in my theater, like feeling emotional because of just like what it made me feel. It took me back to those early days of just loving movies. These kind of things are what took me to the movie theater as a kid. Outside of like Star Wars, you know, it's like my favorite thing of all time. But like
Right.
outside of those, that kind of stuff, or some other franchises, like the comic book movies in general, like good or bad. Like I have, for instance, I have a streak. My wife, I begged her because we were going to be on our honeymoon there when Deadpool Wolverine came out, and we were going to be in Belfast that day. I go, babe, I need to see this movie. She knows I've never missed a comic book movie, a theatrically released comic book movie in theaters since I was like 4 or 5, since I became like sentient enough to like pay attention. I haven't missed a single one in theaters on opening day.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I have that streak going. I know one day that streak will something's gonna get in the way of it, you know, whatever, like something important or somebody's gonna die or something. It's gonna ruin it. Um, but even that, like for instance, even the day my grandfather died a few years ago, I there was nothing I could do. I found out he died, and I was gonna go down to Miami to see my grandma the next day. Like my grandma didn't, and my grandma and my aunt they didn't want a bunch of people bombarding the house the day he passed. So I was gonna come the next day. It was the day that the Suicide Squad came out, and I still went and got and saw it. You know, I didn't do a video for it or anything, but I went and saw it. All this to say, I haven't missed a single one, and so all that to say, Deadpool Wolverine for me, I think holds like a special place of just like it just really kind of felt like a culmination of a lot of like what I love, you know, and being able to
Yeah.
see certain things I've always wanted to see in a movie, like seeing Wolverine in that suit meant more to me than just like a gimmick. It just like for me, just like the amount of hours that I've spent watching cartoons that feature that character or reading the comics or playing video games where I'm playing as Wolverine and just replaying those games as a kid. Um, like those things meant so much to me as a kid, you know, and really kind of got me into storytelling. And again, my critical mind can tell me that it's not, but it's like if I had to tell you my top three right now, it's probably Deadpool, Wolverine, Dune Part Two, and then actually Inside Out 2. Honestly,
Oh.
and another reason for that is because I think you know, I think we spoke a little bit about it, but I had that medical issue recently that I kind of was going
Yep.
through, and it was anxiety. It really was anxiety, and it what ended up happening was it took control of my body. I didn't realize that over the course of the last couple of years of just kind of like being frustrated with work or frustrated with YouTube, like I do my videos and people might see me be like happy go lucky, but I won't lie. Like I've spent a lot of time in the last like 6 years, like pretty depressed and not to bring the mood down. I'm doing better now, um,
But no,
but
no, I'm glad that you are.
my mental state was like fucked for lack of a better term. Like I was feeding into the negativity so much and stressing about everything, about work, about my relationship, about like YouTube, about movies, about my friendships, about like myself, and constantly beating myself down. And one day, dude, I decided to go get an anxiety medication. I ended up having an adverse reaction. And the way that my therapist explained it to me was that the pill, not only did it have an adverse reaction, but it kind of like unlocked all of the anxiety I had pent up. So I suddenly went from I went from feeling fair like just like mild anxiety to like I was having like nonstop like uncontrollable panic attacks. I couldn't help it. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't keep food down. I was sitting there
That's
like,
terrible.
and it happened the week Inside Out 2 came out. So
It was
I saw the
perfect
movie.
timing.
I saw the movie and I was crying in the theater by myself because it just hit me right at the right time. Like I love the first Inside Out. I think the first Inside Out is probably a better movie, but I like for me it really hit my heart and at the right time, like it felt so relatable to, and I think that's always a big factor. I love when we get to the end of the year and we get to see everybody's top 10 best and worst because it's always so different for
It's
everybody.
different.
There might be a couple that are like in the higher rankings. Like Challengers is within my top 20. I would have to look at my list. It's in there. I think I don't know where it's at anymore on my list, to be honest. I want to say it's still in my top 10. I want to say it's like maybe number 7 or something like that. But
I will say, Anthony, like in regards to like your top three, like first thing I'll say is Deadpool and Wolverine. Like I felt mixed about it,
right, I
but
remember reading a review. Yeah.
seeing everybody around me though, and also hearing your thoughts, like I am glad though that a lot of people really enjoyed that movie because first of all, it's good for the box office. Second of all, like I mean, that's a lot of people that it means something to them, and so I'm not here to say like oh like I'm the person that you need to listen to in regards to like what's good and whatnot. So it's like I am genuinely happy that people really liked that movie, and it's still doing well. Like it's still very impactful to a lot of people, and I watched Inside Out too, and one of my friends asked me my thoughts on it, and I described it like this. I thought it was okay, but I also think that the fact that this movie exists, the fact that this movie is doing so well, is incredible because it's showing kids at an early age that it's okay to have this. It's giving them the tools to be able to handle it, and it's like you and I are both around the same age. It's like growing up, I don't think either of us were taught like that it's okay to be anxious. Like we weren't taught these things. We weren't taught about anxiety. We weren't taught about depression. So it's just like to be able to show this to younger kids, to be able to say like it's okay, like things will work out. Like it's just one of those things that it's tough to manage, but we can do it. I think it's important, and I really I liked it. I'm glad that it impacted you because sometimes a movie does that, man. Like I remember, I know you said recently you lost your grandfather. I recently lost my grandmother in March, and it was one of those things where it happened right as Dune 2 came out, and like I don't know, like the one track in Dune 2, like I would listen to sometimes, like when I would just like think about my grandmother because it was just so emotional. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad this movie came out like at this time because like it also got my mind off that for like almost 3 hours because it's such an immersive world. But it's not my favorite of the year, but I still like look at that. I'm like, I'm so glad it came out when it did. So I know what you mean with like Inside Out 2 coming out at the perfect time for you.
Right. Impact of emotionally is a big part for me when it comes down to picking my favorite movies because there are movies I can recognize are better made, but like they just don't hit me the same way. Like something like Inside Out 2, just like I've seen it twice now and I watched it twice within that little period of time. It sucked, man. It was really gnarly. I think it really taught me something about myself and about life. About not taking things so seriously. I'm feeling way better now, but dude, I was like waking up in the middle of the night, not able to sleep, having panic attacks all the time. Like my heart was like, was going to the doctor. I thought something was wrong. I thought I was like
Yeah.
dying. Like my heart was racing at like 98 beats per minute, like consistently throughout the day.
Oh
Um,
wow.
it was really bad. Like I wasn't feeling well at all. I started to feel like really sick. And and I, going to the doctor and stuff, like they were like I did blood work, I did all this stuff, and they pretty much told me like, dude, you're just having anxiety. And like I think I just realized like I worked myself up to the point where my body was now reacting on its own, like fully on its own. And so when I watched that movie, the end of Inside Out 2 And it's funny to think about now, but I was crying in my seat watching the end of Inside Out 2 because I was alone at the time too. My family couldn't make it, my wife couldn't make it, so I had their seats from AMC A-List next to me, and I was just sat in between all the seats by myself. And I honestly love that because there's a scene at the end where anxiety is just like running rampant, like the Flash, and joy breaks through, and then they're just there and they're paralyzed, and they're like the tear comes down, and I've never related to it so much. That's how my body felt. Like my heart was racing, dude, and I was inside just like begging my body to stop. I couldn't breathe to just calm it down. I couldn't just be. So it was like it was rough, and it took a lot of like working on it the last couple of months. But like, oh my god, I feel so much better now. But it's reminded me to just kind of stay at peace. But it's one of those beautiful things. By the way, I did look. I'm sorry, I'm breaking your heart. Challengers is number 12 on my list right now. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I know.
No,
I know.
dude, it's fine.
But I do think
if
it's a
you saw
great
where
movie.
Deadpool Wolverine was, it would also break your heart. It's in the
It
middle of
was
the pack.
No, it's okay. It's okay, man. It's like that's the beauty of it, right? But it was my like number 5 for a long time. If you're interested, my top 10 at the moment, and this is gonna shift. We still have so much
Of
of the year
course, yeah.
to go, but and you might think some of these choices are absolutely ridiculous, but it's tough,
It's
man. I know
subjective.
I know you might disown me after this. All right, so number 10 is Furiosa.
All right.
Number 9 is Sing Sing. I don't know if you've gotten the chance to see Sing Sing yet with
I missed it,
Coleman.
unfortunately.
Well, they haven't even given it a full rollout yet, dude. Like
They
they're
did
rolling it out really slowly.
around me. They did a wide release, but it was only for a week, and
Right.
it was the showtimes were terrible, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
dude. I only got to see it because I had a press screening to go check it out, and I'm grateful I got to see it. But like as soon as it hits like streaming, I think it's one you like that. I saw that movie, and when I think of my peers who would love it, you were one of the first ones I thought about because I was like,
I want to watch it. Like it sounds.
that's a Chad movie. Like it's the thing I thought immediately. All right, so number 9, Sing Sing. Number 8, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. And I know you're probably like, what the hell? And for me, it's like that movie is just like it's just popcorn fun, dude. Like I've seen it a few times and I just am entertained every time I watch it. And I know it's not the movie opens with King Kong ripping a creature over his head and then giving himself a bath. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what the movie is. And I love that they committed to it. He's hitting people with monkeys in the movie. Like it's just fan service. And I grew up as a big fan of the old Toho films. And after a while, those films get ridiculous as you get to the different eras. And so I used to love just watching a room of 6 dudes dressed in costumes just bashing up against each other. And like it's so stupid, but I love it. So that's why it's on there. Number 7 is a movie that hasn't come out yet. I got to check it out like a month early, and my review is still embargoed until the 12th. Transformers 1. It has got to be one of my favorite Transformers films, I think, that's come out to date. I think a lot of people were worried about it, the animated Transformers film, but really solid. I think
Really?
if you're a fan of Transformers, like the OG animated Transformers from back in the day, you're gonna have a fun time with it. It does not have that like tone that Michael Bay brought to it. It feels far more like this is for like the OG fans, but also for like the new kids. I had a lot of fun with it. Number 6 is Alien Romulus. Number 5 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Number 4, I have The Fall Guy, which I don't know why. I just loved The Fall Guy, dude. I've seen it 4 times, and I just never am tired of watching that movie.
My wife was asking about that movie when we were watching the Eagles game because they were showing like the preview. She's like, "Oh, what'd you think about it?" Fell middle of the road, but like I love Ryan Gosling, I love Emily Blunt, so I wanted to like it more. But I'm like, at least it's giving representation to stunt guys.
That movie for me was just like a good comfort movie, dude. Like I saw it the first time, I really enjoyed it. I saw it again on my birthday just because I wanted to rewatch it, and I did a double feature at the theater for If that I hadn't seen at the time, and Fall Guy, and I loved Fall Guy, dude. I had a great time with it, and I
I'm
don't know what
glad
it
that
is. It's like a good comfort movie. Like I both times I watched it, I was like, I just like it, and I've been listening to Young Blood's version of um I was made for loving you or whatever the name of that song is that's in the movie. Love it. And then number 3, Inside Out. Number 2, Dune Part 2. Number 1, Deadpool Wolverine. So
it's a solid
yeah,
list. I wouldn't disown you with any of those. Like I would say of those, the only one I wasn't a fan of was the Godzilla X Kong, but that's mostly just because it just seemed like they had a lot of the human characters, and it's just like at this point in that franchise, I don't really care about these characters. So the
I wish
fact
they
that
would get rid of them altogether, dude. I want a whole
yeah,
non-verbal movie. My favorite scene in the movie is the scene where King Kong goes to the lair with the Scar King, and all the apes are communicating with no words. Because for me,
that's
that
the
was the
one scene
most.
I liked. I didn't like the movie overall, but that's the one scene where I was like, oh,
If
cool.
the whole movie was that, like the monsters communicating without humans, I'd be in. And I think that's why I like Transformers 1. There's no humans. I always wanted a Transformers movie in the theaters that's just on Cybertron. And the closest we got was the opening of Bumblebee, which I love that opening of Bumblebee. But now here we have this full animated film that just like, let's not have any humans involved, dude. Like we don't need them. The Transformers speak. Like that's it. That we just need them to tell the story. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what Transformers 1 is.
Oh, we have a lot. Holy cow, we've got a lot of comments.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut up a little bit, let you go through those.
No, you're good, dude. Just Square. I haven't seen you Beetlejuice yet, but really hope Jenna Ortega shines. Love her. I liked her in it. Andrew Lay, my karaoke game is awesome. That's why I watch The Irishman alone. People will always be dozing off with the runtime or annoyed by me singing them bangers. Joseph Guerrero, nope, Dallas sucks when you're an Eagles fan. LOL. Yeah. Joseph Guerrero, I know him. He's my wife's cousin. Yeah, I to be honest with you, like I remember I watched a documentary on the Eagles and Dallas Cowboys rivalry, and I think it's so stupid. I really do. It's all started because the Cowboys back in the day were like a really really good team, and the Eagles weren't. So that's one of the things why Eagles fans originally hated them. But now it's like, oh, the tables have turned. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, just like, come on, guys. Like, it's like, come on. Like, I've seen before where it's like there were Cowboys fans like in Philly and they get like badgered. I'm like, dude, like, just relax. Like, come on now. Like if it's all good fun, okay. But if it's like if it gets like harmful, I'm just like, come on, guys.
All right.
I can't change my mind. He's an Eagles fan, see. I just casually watch. Like my wife loves the Eagles. I just casually watch. Like I used to analyze football and other sports the same way that I do with film and TV. So it's like I still have that analytical mind, but I also now that I don't pay attention to any of the players, I just like enjoy watching the art of like, a quarterback throwing a good pass or running game. Although I'm not a big fan of running game. I always bust on Mars balls about Jalen Hurts running the ball like crazy instead of throwing it. So I'm just like, it's not interesting. That's just me. I'm like, it's nothing to just hand it off. Like throwing it, it's such a risk because it's like you might get it intercepted, it might cause a fumble, but
Right.
I can't articulate. Ooh, this is going to be a lot. I felt like the goal of season 1 was to find the killer, but once it was revealed who it was, I felt like the rest of the episodes aren't needed. Yes, I know it's about the community too, but IDK. So this, Anthony, I know you haven't seen Twin Peaks. So I'll try to make this fast. So
Feel free to talk about it as much as you want. I was gonna say, funny enough though, my I recently got tattooed. I've been working on a Star Wars sleeve that I was adding more color to my arm, but my tattoo artist talked to me for like 40 minutes about Twin Peaks. He was explaining it to me because he was trying to get me on it. So it's funny that we're talking about it because I just literally got like a whole like breakdown of like
45-minute lecture as to why you should watch it.
yeah, well, he
I'll
was
give
like
you a
telling me all
5-minute
about it
lecture.
and like about the new series and like all the cast members. He had me pull up IMDb and we were talking about the actors that came back and everything. Like we had a whole discussion about it.
It's yeah, like one of the things I want to touch on, can't articulate about Twin Peaks is that when Lynch and Mark Frost created the show, they never wanted Laura Palmer's murder to be revealed as to who it was that did it. It was always going to be one of those things that was just like a backdrop, so that way you're focusing on all these characters and it's like you're hanging out with them. So season 2, what happened was ABC, they were bright enough to say, you know what, I want you, David Lynch, to figure out who the murderer is early on in season 2. And David Lynch wasn't happy about that. He was like, no, like that's not the point. Like as he established before, like that's not the point of the show. So he was forced to do that, and he kind of had a falling out with ABC. And once the twist was revealed as to who it was, the middle episodes are just so meandering. It makes the show kind of halt, and it's like, what are we doing here? The last couple episodes of season 2, Lynch directed because the ratings fell off. Like it went from being one of the highest rated shows to then like viewership was at an all-time low. So Lynch then got back on board, but then he had such a ballsy ending where it was like, what? And they just didn't pick it up for season 3 until 25 years later. And then he had full control. And season 3 is like, without a doubt, maybe Hannibal's the closest, but it's without a doubt the most avant-garde experimental filmmaking I have ever seen on TV. It is just it's like one of those things where it's almost like David Lynch is giving ABC the middle finger, saying, "Look what I'm able to do on Showtime. Like, look what all the stuff I can do. Look what you're missing out on." But it's not for everyone. But as much as I'm ranting, particularly, what I'm trying to say is, I wouldn't look at it as the mystery of who killed Laura Palmer. I would look at it more of like, what are these characters doing? How are they going about these situations, and like the quirks that they all have? So yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't like Twin Peaks, I get that it's not for everyone, but I wouldn't look at it as the killer aspect, because it's not really the point of the show.
I definitely want to check it out at some point.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. Can't particularly, I'll give it a rewatch next year. I still haven't watched the Return season yet. That is it's a wild season, dude. Like, be prepared. Andrew Lay, Adam McKay was supposed to have a political thriller coming out for this election cycle with average height, average build as a working title, but I haven't heard anything so far. Yeah, I'm wondering if we're gonna get that. I don't know. I feel like some of the Oscar movies we haven't really heard. We haven't really heard a lot about some of the Oscar movies just yet, but we're still in early September, so I'm sure with the next couple festivals that are upcoming, I'm sure we'll hear about some Oscar buzz. You spoilers. I haven't seen any Alien but Prometheus and Covenant. I mean, honestly,
I
it's
don't know
pretty
what we
cool to
said.
go.
We probably said something.
Yeah, like going from Prometheus to Alien Covenant to then Alien. Like, that's usually how I'll watch the movies now.
Yeah.
Skynet Gen. I usually have him on the channel on Saturdays with Marv. Skynet Gen, Sergey, yo, Chow, what's up? Hope you haven't filmed your David or Russell ranking. Biopic Cage going to be in his new film Madden, playing John Madden. I actually have filmed my list, and it's coming out. Let's see. I'm sure the John Madden one's not coming out until next year, but let me see where I have this is the only problem with doing the director ranking list and being so far ahead of like schedule, as you know, Anthony, is that there are some director movies that they'll randomly have something come out, and I'm like, oh shoot, what am I gonna do? So David Russell, my list is coming out January, so I don't have anything to worry about, because I'm sure the Madden pick
January.
Yeah,
are you that far ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I have my director ranking list until I think it's November of next year.
Holy fuck! Dude, I'm impressed, man. Holy crap, man!
So a lot of my director stuff that you'll see now on Letterboxd, it's preparation for either the last month or two of next year or the following year.
Lord,
like Francis Ford Coppola, I'm trying to watch all of his films. Like, I have 2 more, so my goal is to finish up his 2 films, then watch Megalopolis, and then film my ranking of his for, I think it's November of 2025 or December of 2025. I forget which month. But
I mean, dude, I gotta give you your flowers, man. That is crazy to even think about. Like, that is crazy. Like, right now, I literally only have the Transformers 1 video I mentioned. Like, like that's private right now, just because I can't upload it. Other than that, I have the Breaking Bad video I told you that I have filmed. I have videos, like I have notes for the next couple of videos, but that's about it, dude. Like, the fact that you're that ahead,
dude,
kudos, man. Kudos.
If you actually, ironically, Sergey, I've sent him I actually no, I think I might have sent you the list too, but I have a list of like future directors, like from November 2025 to like December 2026, that I'm trying to like watch through. And the reason why I have it so far ahead is because you never know what's going to happen in life. Like, you never know. There might be a month where it's like you can't really film that many videos. And to be honest with you, my channel, like the whole reason why it blew up was because of my director ranking list. So it's like, I know a lot of my subscribers are subscribed for me because of those videos. So it's like, if I stop doing them, like I'm sure they'll still follow around. But the fact that every month, the second Saturday, they have like that to look forward to, it's like, I don't know, it gives people something to look forward to. I originally thought, thanks, man. And I also, the Academy Award videos, like those I'm even like further ahead. Like, I think I'm set up until the middle of 2026 for my Academy Award videos. So, like,
I
I
mean, I
think,
commend you for also the amount of movies that you watch, man. Like,
thanks,
I
man.
this year I'm definitely behind in comparison to a lot of my peers, and you're somebody I would never even be able to catch up to. Like, even if I tried, even if I enslaved myself to try, I could never do it. Because I think you're at like what, like 400 something movies this year.
I think it might have been, but to be fair though,
I just saw my 150th movie. I think I'm at 151, and that's a lot of movies for normal, like for everyday people. I still have some catching up to do in general. I definitely have had times I haven't watched much. Yeah, I'm at 151 movies right now,
oh wow.
and I think let me check. I'm curious what you're at because I know last I checked, I was like, damn, yeah,
Well, to
you're
be
you're
fair,
at
this
478.
holy cow. I will say, to be fair though, like I was able to I was able to go full steam ahead, like watch like more than usual because like full disclosure, I think I mentioned in a couple of my reviews on Letterboxd, but my old job in like March, they had like a ransomware attack. So like my job, like I was furloughed. So like I was looking for work elsewhere because I was like, I don't know how long this is gonna last. So I had to look for a job elsewhere. So like I finally got another job in June. And so like from March to June, I was able to just like watch more than usual. I was like, all right, like this Francis Ford Coppola ranking video, I can just binge watch a bunch of his movies now, like as opposed to watching one or two a week. So I think that's why, because like 2018, I was also able to watch like a bunch because of like certain situations. But 478, that is just saying a lot. That's a lot of movies.
I mean, dude, I love it, honestly. Like, I wish I had the time, obviously, like you said, you got furloughed, which sucks for sure. But,
Yeah.
um, I know for me, my biggest thing, if I was not a gamer at all, I would be watching movies all the time. But I like, I play a lot I play a lot. I put a lot of hours of time into gaming.
And that's
Um,
my thing. I don't play video games. So that's probably why, where it's like a lot of my entertainment time can go to like films and TV shows
right,
because of
right.
that. Because it's not like I'm like, all right, I gotta play like a certain amount of games. Because it's like, from what I understand, like video games, it's very easy to put on like 4 to 6 hours, like easy in regards to like gameplay. So it's like I get it.
Time flies when you're gaming, man, and, like, there's so many games that, like, that's kinda like I usually, like, depending on the day or something, like, I'll watch movies, and a lot of times too, like, because I, like, of just, like, schedule with, like, work and stuff like that, I can only do so many videos in a week with, like, also taking into consideration time with my wife and stuff like that, and a lot of times I wanna these movies,
Yes.
the older ones I wanna watch, I watch them with her because I, like it's kinda been a driving force is, like, movies that I will, wanna show her that she's never seen before. Um, so there's that element too, but yeah, I honestly, like, right now, for instance, I will be doing a video on it. I don't really do video game videos because I like my video game time to just be me. It's like that one part
Just
of
you time,
entertainment
yeah.
stuff that I just is just me. Um, but, the only video games I've really covered are the Star Wars ones, and I'm currently about a little over 40 hours into the latest Star Wars game. That's
Oh
like
wow.
everything else Star Wars wise, central to a lot of controversy because I guess there's like a bunch of glitches on like the PC port of the game. Um, Whereas I'm playing it on Xbox, it's got a couple glitches that tends to happen sometimes with some new games, but people are
Especially when a
acting like
game first comes out, I feel like there's going to be
right, especially
glitches.
nowadays, right? Like people are acting like I've seen people call it like a scam and unplayable and terrible. I'm over 40 hours in. I'm having plenty of fun um with the game, but that's really consumed a lot of my time. Like right before we hopped on the stream, I was playing that. Um and yeah, I'm probably gonna put a lot more time into it over the course of the next few days. I'm almost done. I could tell that the game like
It's kind of
is
wrapping up.
yeah, like, I'm doing all, like, the side quests and stuff like that, like, I'm coming to a close with it, but, yeah, I will definitely be doing a video on it, afterwards, but that takes up a lot of my time for sure.
I look forward to seeing the video, man. Also, see, I love these like director ranking kind of questions. Challengers is great. I guess you don't have to mix up your body, ranking too much, Shaq, because his queer premiere in Toronto is getting mixed reactions. So I didn't realize he was having a second film come out until like recently. So my ranking was originally going to come out in the middle of next year, but I switched it up with another director who isn't going to have anything come out sometime soon. So my Luca Guadagnino one is actually coming out in October. Like I think it's like a month or two before Queer's coming out. So it's gonna be relevant for a month, but at least I don't have to like re-rank and everything. So like if someone's asking for my updated ranking when Queer comes out, it's like I can do it, but
Right.
I
You
already
could
have
always
that.
just add that into, like, the comments, like, and pin it,
Yeah.
like, after the video comes out, but that's actually good timing that it's gonna come out around that because yeah, there'll be that interest, and, yeah, it's interesting when
Mhm.
a director has, like, multiple films coming out, like, in a short period of time, like, what's his name? I think is it Oz Oz Perkins or I don't know if his last
Yeah,
name's Perkins.
dude, I was gonna
He's got
rank
another
his
movie coming
work for
soon.
next year, but he's having another movie coming out pretty soon. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna wait like
Right.
until he does that. Like he usually has a pretty big gap in regards to the movies that come out, but I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna wait. Andrea also Joker 2 premiere in Venice is getting mixed reactions too. Don't know. I'm still intrigued though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's good that it's getting mixed reactions because I think that art is subjective. So it's like the fact that there is a reaction of like a love, hate it, like I think that's good. I think it's gonna bring out about a lot of discussion, just like the first one. So I am excited. I'm hoping I know you have early screenings, Anthony, because the association you're with, but like for me, I have AMC A list. So like I'm fingers crossed. I'm hoping that on Monday when the tickets drop, that they have a early screening on September 30th. I'm hoping that that is included with my A list because if it is, like, I'm going to try to see it that day
Right, right.
because I am curious. Like, I'm terrified because I'm hoping it doesn't undo a lot of the stuff that happened in the first one, but I'm also curious because we haven't gotten a musical superhero film. So I'm like, it's an original idea. So
Yeah, it's not what I expected the sequel was gonna be, but, I'm
no,
excited.
no.
I'm going in with a positive mind. I love the first one, so I'm hopeful that I'll enjoy it at least, you know? So, I haven't gotten my invite for early screening for that one yet, but I suspect that I will be getting that email soon
I
enough.
feel like Warner Brothers is also like very last minute, if I'm not mistaken, with like early screeners where it's like, hey,
Right, yeah, yeah, for
um,
sure.
Joseph Guerrero, Inside Out, 2, good choice for best animated. Not sure for overall best movie.
Oh, fair
Honestly,
enough, man.
I think it might win best animated feature this year.
Right, yeah.
My favorite so far of the year is one that some people may not consider a 2024 movie because it got nominated for best animated feature last year, but it didn't come out near us until June. So I'm like, I'm considering it a 2024 film, and that's Robot Dreams. Did you see that, Anthony?
So, I didn't, but it was, so at the tail end of last year at tail end of the year. So I learned this last year because last year was my first official year in the Critics Association that I'm in. They sent out a bunch of physical screeners, and
Oh,
one thing I got, it's over there. I can grab it if you want, but it's like this red case from Neon, and it came with a bunch of Neon films inside of it, including movies that had yet to release. So I prioritized. I was getting like that's the worst part. It's like as we were getting closer to award season, they were sending everybody in my critics association like dozens of movies, and some that I seen like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Like I'd seen that, so I didn't really prioritize that one. I was trying to catch up on some of the bigger ones throughout the year that I had heard about. And some of those were like past lives or like how to blow
oh
up a
yeah.
pipeline, infinity pool. But then I prioritized like things that hadn't come out yet when I got the box, like Ferrari, like that was in there. Like I got to see that like 2 months before it hit theaters and stuff.
Oh wow.
Um, I saw it at home though, you know, it wasn't like an early screening, but they sent me a physical disc with like a watermark on it. All that to say, Robot Dreams was in that box and I never got to it. I still have it. I could technically pop it in, but I've heard it's pretty good. Like,
You
I
should
remember it got nominated last year.
you should watch it, dude. It's really good. It's 100% visual storytelling. Like
Nice.
it's a very unique film, and I think that it tackles a lot of interesting themes too. Like I think you would like it.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Angela, I'm sorry to hear that. Anthony, I'm glad you're doing better. Hope watching movies helps. But do you write?
I don't write. Not really. I'd like to. I've always thought about wanting to like write a story or like a scripts or something like that. But honestly, it's laziness. I like I mentioned before, though, I was in a band, so I did write music, and sometimes I'll still write stuff for myself. Nothing that I really ever like actualize and make into something that people can like listen to. Um, but sometimes like that. Honestly, for me though, the things that help the most outside of watching movies, is gaming. Like gaming is like a big part of just like therapeutic kind of like peacefulness. So kind of like you were mentioning with like, Dune Part 2 when your grandmother passed away. Um, Outside of things like Inside Out 2 that came out when I was dealing with what I was dealing with, I had to take a short LOA from work because I couldn't sleep and I wasn't like functioning properly. So like I took some time off of work to just get my body regulated. So I had a lot of time to myself at home, and I spent a lot of that playing for the first time Cyberpunk 2077, which is like a video game that
Oh,
came
I've
out a
heard of
few
that.
years ago. It was like riddled with glitches when it came out, but I didn't play it. And then I saw right as I was just going on my LOA from work that it was on sale, like the deluxe edition for like $15. And so
Well,
I
that's
was
not
like,
bad.
oh yeah, it was like usually like $60 or $70. I bought it for 15, and I probably put like a good like 40 to 50 hours into it. But like I played that over the course of like days while I was off. And dude, that was so therapeutic. Like I got lost in the world and the story and the characters. I think you would really, I don't know if you're really into open world games, but I feel like that game you would really like because it's like really cinematic. Um, and like the storytelling is really, really cool there. You got Keanu Reeves in the game too, which is pretty
Oh,
great. Yeah, he
I do
plays like
like
this,
Keanu Reeves.
he plays this dude who was like a lead singer of like a rock band in the past, but he was also caught like in the crime world. And he dies, but um his memory or like his soul, or so to speak, like the memory of who he was is like imprinted on like a hard drive, and your character gets that in his brain, but doesn't know that's what's gonna happen when he puts it in his like because it's cyberpunk, so everybody's kind of got like cybernetic like enhancements. And so your character has Keanu Reeves' character like stuck in his mind throughout the whole game.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and
I think
your
that's
character's
really cool too, because like he's in the Matrix film, so it seems
right, right,
very
right,
like a very intentional choice, like to have
right.
him play that role.
Yeah, it was pretty
I'll
cool.
be honest, I don't really like. I don't have any gaming systems, so like I'll occasionally like watch some of my friends play, but for the most part, it's never really something that I don't want to say interested in me because I totally respect it as an art form, but it's just one of those things that I just never really made time for, like
No, I
bought the
get it,
stuff
dude.
that was necessary
I
for.
love gaming. I love movies. I don't really like reading books. Like like it's just like it's not my vibe. I like reading Star Wars books, but that's a little bit there's a bias there. But like people are always like, "Oh, have you read the book?" Of like I'm like, "Nah," but I'll go see the movie.
I always
Same with sports.
hate that argument when someone's like, "Wow, the book did this," and it's like the book is a totally different art form, man. And it's like you sometimes have to do different things, like in regards to adapting something. That's why it's called an adaptation.
Right.
But that's just me.
I'm the same way, and if there are things in the book that were done better, and then we get another adaptation that is able to include those things, I'm all for it. Like, I don't think we need it, but I'm very curious to see how that Harry Potter reboot that's coming turns out.
Oh
It's
yeah,
supposed to be like every season is a book. It's going to be like an HBO Max series. Um, I don't think it's necessary. I just did a whole rewatch series of videos on my channel on Harry Potter over the course of the last year or two, and like I love those movies as they are. There's a couple of movies that rewatching them, I was like, I could see this story maybe being better if it was a little bit longer.
expanding. Yeah.
But like, dude, man, like, good luck casting new people in those roles and not having the new cast just get completely eaten alive. Good luck. Like, if there's anything, even if you don't like the Harry Potter movies, you can never say that they're poorly cast. Like across
Yeah.
the board, like everybody nails it. So like good luck. But I mean, I know a lot of people who are excited because of the prospect of what the books were able to capture that the movie wasn't able to tell in its 2.5 hours of runtime, I know there's it's not nearly on the same level, but I know some people are feeling the same way about the Twilight remake because I don't know if you know that Twilight is also set to get the same treatment where it was going to be like individual seasons that are each of the books.
Oh
Again,
boy.
I don't know that we need that, but maybe the TV shows can add a little bit more, levels of detail that the movies didn't.
I mean, both are going to be one of those things where, like you said, I mean, I'm treading with caution, man, with both because my wife loves the Harry Potter movies. I think they're solid. I can respect them. I didn't grow up with them, so like I was just late to the show. But I don't know, shooting digitally, having an entirely different cast and everything. I don't know. There's just a lot of things where I'm like, we'll see how this goes. I'm also
Right.
curious to see who the directors are going to be that are doing the episodes. So
Right.
I don't know. To be honest with you,
There's
I might
so
not even
much
watch it
about it.
because come to think about it, I don't think my wife's going to be interested in watching this show because she bailed, dude, after Fantastic Beasts, like the first one. So I watched the second and third one, but like I literally told her, I was like, you weren't really missing out much because if you didn't like the first one, you definitely won't like the second and third Fantastic Beasts.
Honestly, I thought the first one was pretty solid, like a nice start to like, maybe not as good as the Harry Potter movies, but I was like, cool. And the second and third one just, man, like that third one, I was so bored watching it in theaters, and it like just it didn't stick with me. And yeah, I guess we'll see what they end up doing with these shows. Um, maybe they're able to add something else to the mix, but yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I think the casting more than anything, specifically for Harry Potter, it's gonna be a rough one, man. I don't
Good.
envy anybody. The only fan casting thing I've seen and the rumor I've seen that I can go, yes, I think that'd be good is Adam Driver as Snape. Other than that, like there's really nobody I could see in my mind to take over. Like, dude, I feel bad for the young kids that are gonna be Harry, Hermione, and Ron. Like those kids are gonna get like unfairly judged,
They're
like,
going to get
and
the
they're gonna,
Star Wars The Last Jedi treatment, unfortunately.
yeah, or
I hate to say it, but
if not like worse, like in the sense that it's like these kids are gonna be like, it's kind of like I almost feel like it'd be like like how Jake Lloyd was treated with the Phantom Menace, like where he's 10 years old and he's just excited to be in a movie and people are like, you fucking suck. It's like, oh, dude.
it's like, dude, really?
He's
But
10
yeah,
years old, dude. Like the dude's
like
it's
just
like I
cut
get it.
him
Like,
some slack.
yeah, like it's not his fault. Who would say no to being young Darth Vader at 10 years old? I would have been all in there.
Especially with all the money you're going to be making. Like as a 10-year-old,
Right.
it's like, oh wow. Oh, so sorry. As bunch of comments, but I gotta prioritize David pictures. I like non fiction books to be honest, but I prefer movies for fiction. That's fair. There's one history book that I really like. It's called No Easy Day. It's from the perspective of one of the people that took down like Bin Laden, and it just so happened that he was also part of the Captain Phillips story. So like it was really interesting to get a breakdown of like his perspective of like those incidents that occurred and just like his apolitical view. Like I thought that was something that was really really fascinating. Let me go back. Sorry, there's a lot of comments.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, go ahead. If you want to start burning through them, go for it.
oh yeah, Andrew also said his follow up comment was because films relieve me a lot. I'm so inspired by them. I started writing scripts and found it to be extremely therapeutic. Yeah,
Sure,
films
yeah.
films do that to me as well. Like when I first got furloughed, like I was watching some films that were first time watches, and it just didn't really hit as much as like the ones that I had seen before, and just I don't know, like I had more of an emotional response for that, and I think that's also why Challengers hit so hard because like there are some times where I'm like, there's kind of a slump in regards to like my love for like first time watches, but then Challengers just was like a dopamine rush. So I'm glad I'm not the only one where it's like, they cause a lot of relief. Um Joseph Guerrero, Godzilla minus one was best recent Godzilla movie. I would agree with
For
this.
sure, yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed that one. That was
Yeah.
breath of
That
fresh
made
air.
my top 5 last year, I'm pretty sure. Like,
I remember that, and I can totally respect that because I think that that film really does a good job of a lot of my issues with the monster genre. It kind of fixes them where it's like if you're gonna have the human characters, at least give them some depth, and this one definitely did. So
right.
I liked this take. Angela, the Fall Guy, rocks. Literally, me meme came to my mind seeing Ryan Gosling crying to Taylor Swift. I enjoy that. Skynet Chan watching Body Double right now. The Palm needs to stop trying to be Hitchcock. Just stop, man. So I don't think he's trying to be Hitchcock. Although it's funny because I was talking to two of my friends today that I hung out with about Hitchcock, and I mentioned to them how I was like, I'm glad Hitchcock exists because De Palma's style is like basically taking Hitchcock and then implementing his own style, but like in a very unique way. And I really appreciate De Palma. Like, I think that he is a good director. And I saw Body Double for the first time earlier this year, and I dug it. No joke. I would watch it again in a heartbeat. I love the score for that. I really, really enjoyed the cinematography. Like, dear God, that was just amazing. And I think that the story, while familiar, it's kind of like Rear Window meets Vertigo. I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed the way it unfolded, and I would recommend it to anyone. I think it's still on Netflix, but like, yeah, I liked it. I quite enjoyed it, but I expect a 2 out of 5 from you, Sergey. Even though I liked it, I think I almost gave it a 4. I forget. I gave it close to that. Andrew Lay chat schedules uploads like Ridley Scott his movies. This is fair because Ridley Scott, it does seem like there are sometimes where he's made movies like 2 in a year, and it's like, wow, like he's a busy director. He
Right.
very
I
is.
feel I feel like that happened with or like really close to one another.
House of
He did
Gucci and Last Duel, I think it was.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Right, right.
Yeah, where it was
Yeah,
like, wow, like they came out, I think 2 months apart, or it might have been a month apart, but it was
right.
very.
And they were super ambitious, like 2 different style films, very ambitious.
And he I like him as a director, but I also, because he sticks to the script so much, I also kind of worry sometimes. I'm like, please be a good script so that way it's like, your directing can shine.
Right, right.
Sorry, I need to catch up. I'm at 240 movies this year. LOL. Um, Chad, I'm at 242 movies this year. I mean, that's still a lot. Like I
I mean,
said,
that's
I was
definitely all of us are watching way more movies than most people. Even
than most
myself, I'm
people.
only 140 or 151. Like, I'll talk to people at my job, I'm telling them all these movies I'm watching, and they'll always tell me, like, "I don't know what to watch. What should I watch?" I'm just like, "Just pick something." I always tell them, "Just pick." I was like, "Have you seen this series?" They're like, "No, I've always wanted to." Just watch it. Just,
Just give
like,
it a
do it.
shot.
It's like, "Is there a new movie that came out recently that, that maybe you saw that you like?" "Yeah, that one movie." Then just throw it on. Like, that I feel like people sometimes feel so overwhelmed, and with us, I find that people that do YouTube channels or do things like what we do with movies, or like we have like a vision, like I don't really do that, like sitting in front of the Netflix and scrolling through to find something. I already know what I'm going to sit down and watch the second I sit down to watch something,
Yeah.
which makes it easy to like just kind of, you know, keep
To
up.
be honest with you, like I have literally a list of like things to do, and then I also have like off to the side like movies that are on my radar that I need to watch like at some point. But I also am kind of strategic. Like, for example, I have 2 more 1970s Academy Award Best Picture nominees to watch, but I haven't watched them yet because I'm like, I know for a fact that as soon as I watch these 2, I'm then going to be like, okay, now I need to film and rank these. Like, I need to rank and then film these, ones per year, and it's like it's a lot. So it's like I'm
Right.
like, okay, I'm gonna watch one probably by the end of this month, and then I'm gonna try to watch one like in November. I was gonna say October, but October I know is gonna be so overwhelming with like watching a bunch of horror films, watching all these Oscar type movies. So like I'm like, okay, I'm trying to plan it out, but it's a lot. Every now and then I'll have like this sporadic like something catches my eye and I'm like randomly like, all right, I'm gonna check this out. But for the most part, I'm like you. I try to plan it out so that way there's like some kind of schedule.
Right. Like all my videos coming up are just all planned, like in terms of
Yeah.
like series I'm working through, or like the live streams, like, I was gonna say it later, but Chad will be on the channel the 11th of October. I'm gonna be doing starting in 2 weeks. I'll be doing weekly live streams on Disney films, and
Yep.
one of that one is up to like the first one I'm doing of Disney is The Lion King, with the 2 other people, but literally the next couple weeks after that are rolling in right into October. So I was like, all right, well, we're gonna keep on with Disney, but we're gonna do like Disney Halloween themed films. So I have Chad joining me for a underrated, in my opinion, Disney Channel original movie called Under Wraps. So if you guys want to see Mr. Film Aficionado talk about a Disney Channel original movie, that's going to be coming on my channel in a few weeks. But I have that kind of stuff planned out ahead of time. But like
I'll
either
have
way,
random ones that are kind of spur of the moment, like Strange Darling. I wasn't planning to I wasn't planning to do a review for that, but I felt so passionate about that film that I was like, even if this gets like 10 views, like that's 10 people out on my channel that are now going to be aware of this film that I think is like something special. So like, I'm like, let me get the word out there somehow.
Right.
So but for the most part, my ranking videos and like those, I do have planned out like in advance. That's why like, that's why I'll sometimes be like, "Oh, dude, you want to come on the channel for this ranking?" And then I'm like, also like, I have to also give the caveat that hey, this isn't going to come out until like 2025 or 2026.
Right. Crazy.
But there's also some other ones where I'm like, all right, it's coming out in a month or 2 months. Bootzilla, hey fella, sorry for being late, dude. It's all good. I'm glad you're here. Um, Andrew Lay saying, I don't read books. I still refuse to pick up the Dune books because I don't want to live in a world not visualized by Denis Villeneuve. I will say, to be fair, my wife read Dune and she said that they did a really good job adapting it. So you're in good hands. Scott and Jen, I'm probably skipping the Harry Potter series. It's just not needed and hard to see anyone filling those roles. You want details and everything in the book, read the book. Yeah, I mean, plus, like, I just don't think that getting that amount of passion from the cast and crew, I just don't know if you're going to be able to replicate that.
It's
So
gonna feel like it's gonna feel like they're gonna have a pressure to like almost like copy. Like I feel like it's too much part of the cultural zeitgeist, you know, that there are certain franchises I think that don't need reboots. If you want to continue it, like do a series that takes place in the world of Harry Potter, like maybe, you know, Fantastic Beasts didn't work out, but if you want to do a TV show in that world, like I'm all for that. There was a game that came out last year, Hogwarts Legacy, that like had a pretty interesting, fun story. And what was cool about it was like it's like a prequel, it takes place back in the day, but like you like run around Hogwarts and you meet all these different like people from different schools across the world. Obviously, Fantastic Beast showed us the American like version of Hogwarts. But one of the interesting characters that my wife and I really enjoyed was this young woman who was from the like African like wizarding school, and
oh wow,
their magic was a little different. And she talked about how they like did wandless magic, you know, like they were like one of the few schools that did wandless magic and all that kind of stuff. The lore that they built around her, even though you never go there in the game, my wife and I were like, that would be so cool. Like, we don't need a reboot. Let's just get another show or a movie and take us somewhere else in that world, like with good writers and, you know, like good team together. And you could easily make something cool. And something that also surprises me, not to harp on Harry Potter too much, but like, I live, you know, like I said, in the Central Florida area, and I've gone to Universal Studios a million times, and they have the Harry Potter expansions there, and that all of those things feature the actors from the movies, and they have a new theme park coming called Epic Universe that's going to have a new Harry Potter section that's going to take place after the movies
huh?
and focus on the trial of Dolores Umbridge. And they've released like images and some behind the scenes footage of them like filming the stuff they need for the ride. And they have the actress who played Dolores Umbridge in the movies, like on a green screen in her costume playing. So it's just like, are you doing all this, put all this money into theme park expansions and what like the new cast is gonna come out and you're gonna what re-theme or reskin all that with the new it just seems so like pointless. It just seems so pointless. It's like with
Yeah,
Disney and their massive investment in Star Wars right now. Like it's like if Disney was like, "Yeah, we're gonna reboot Star Wars, new Luke Skywalker, new Princess Leia." It's like what? Like this makes
a big part, Anthony. Like I've done like a deep dive of this. A big part of this also has to do with that it used to be in the film industry, and to an extent, you'll see in some studios where it's like they kind of also follow this model, but it used to be back in the day that when you had executives of a film studio, they of course looked at it as a business because at the end of the day, like as much as I look at it as an art form, it is a business. And I know that a studio head is going to look at things for money, but there was also this mentality of trying to combine like the art to it, but also like, hey, we also want to make money. And right now, though, you have people in power of these studios that they don't like movies. They don't care about movies. It's like it doesn't matter. Like they'll
right.
look at like an IP and it's like, oh, this did well. So like let's just do it again because this did well. But they also don't think about all the factors that went into like why it did well. Like people don't love Harry Potter because like oh it's based on a book series. No, it's because of all the love and care that went into it. And I just think that if you're just looking at it as like a soulless product, I think you're going to be setting yourself up for failure, like as a studio head. And it seems like with these type of business practices that they're doing with this Harry Potter franchise, it just goes to show that the head of Warner Brothers is like he doesn't really like. I know I probably shouldn't be saying this, but it just doesn't really seem like he knows what he's doing. There's just a lot of baffling decisions over at Warner Brothers that I scratch my head on, dude. I really do. Like I'm like, really? Like they're just it seems like almost they're just throwing things against like a wall and seeing what sticks. You
Right.
know, like
It's
like
gonna suck if it's like a series that we get one season of. It didn't do well, people didn't watch it, and then it gets canceled. And it's like, why did we even do this? Like, why did we even waste any time when we already have a whole like set of movies that are like pretty beloved, like for the most part.
yeah.
It's wild.
Oh, also, 38 Skynet says I finished the movie by the time people finish scrolling through Netflix. LOL.
True.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's good to have schedules and everything because
Right.
I mean, there will be some times where I'm like, I have a movie scheduled, but I'm like just not in the right mood, so I'm just like, all right, I push it off to the side. But Andrew
Yeah.
Lay, Guilty Surrogate. I once spent 2 hours scrolling through Netflix. Oh,
Yikes.
that's always the worst because it's like, oh my goodness.
Anytime I'm like, maybe not in the mood to like watch something that I know, like kind of like you said, as soon as I see something, my brain goes into like write notes and prepare a video kind of thing. Sometimes my out for that will be like if I saw something earlier in the year or last year that my wife wasn't able to make it to the movies, I'll be like, "Hey, do you want to see something you haven't seen?" Where I can like something I already reviewed, where I still want to watch something, but I don't really want that pressure in my mind of like I need to kind of like formulate a review for it. Um, I don't know.
My wife, it's one of those things where like if she sees a trailer for something and she's interested, we'll watch it. Like I'll show it to her. But I'll also like when I'm watching other movies because it's like there's a lot of times where I'll see a movie by myself or with friends, and I'll keep her in mind like in regards to like, oh, do I think she'll like this? And like I think of the movies that are in my top 10. The one that I'm like I want to show it to her, even if she doesn't necessarily like it. I just want to get her view on it is Strange Darling. Like that's a film that I can see myself showing not only her but like some of my other friends just to see the reaction with like how that unfolds. Because I forget, did you see that, Anthony? Yet?
I haven't. No, I saw the trailer for it. It's on my list. There's a handful of movies from this year that like I've heard people praise. That's one of them. Late Night with the Devil is another one I still haven't seen. Um,
Oh, dude, those are you love horror. Like those two horror
yeah,
films, I think you would
they're
really
just
like.
two that slipped through the cracks. I still haven't seen. And there's so many movies that I've missed this year, and that happens every year, right? Like we're gonna get to
Sure.
the end of our year, we're gonna do our top 10 best and worst, but then next year we'll catch up on movies from this year that we missed out on, and then
Hmm.
those movies would have easily been on the list, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Those are
I was late to the Godzilla minus one party. Like I didn't watch him until 6 months after it came out. So
really, really. Yeah, I was
yeah.
like, I knew I'm a big monster fan. Like I'm a big, big kaiju fan. So as soon as that movie came out, I was there day one. And I think that's part of why I like Godzilla X Kong. Why I like it so much is because it reminded me of the era, like where things just got stupid, like where the monsters were talking to each other with speech bubbles. Um, for anybody who forgot that did happen.
Oh, where is it? Andrew Lay also says Anthony mentioned Sing Sing earlier. It reminded me hearing people hyping up to win Best Picture over Dune 2, others saying Anora, and I been preparing myself for these indie darlings beating epics. I haven't seen Sing Sing, but I will say that one thing I've learned over the last several years is that it's not just a matter of hype; it's also a matter of like, is the studio going to put all their chips, so to speak, on this movie? And I don't know. I can't see A24 putting all their chips on this movie. Like I don't know. Like again, I haven't seen it yet, but I
It
just have a
sucks
hard
that it
time.
works that way, right? It sucks that it's like you really have to have sponsorships and like put money
Hmm.
behind the marketing for it to even be considered. That
Yep.
part is what really sucks because there are great movies that just don't get that limelight. A great movie, I remember the year that it came out, and I actually got to interview the director and one of the main stars of it is a movie I actually recommended to you that you watched, which is The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. That
That
was
was
like
such a
a
good movie. That
such
was
a good
really good.
movie, super small, like low budget, and they like kind of like a chamber piece in a lot of ways, takes place in one location. And I got to interview the main cop, the Hispanic bald guy, and the director and the writer. And they talked to me about that experience, but like they also talked to me a little bit about like the struggles to get that movie in front of people or like the concept of getting it out there. And it's like the reality is they would have loved, and I think that movie was one of the strongest movies I saw that year. I think it easily could have been in the running of like at least a discussion for award season, but it just didn't.
The editing and acting, I think, especially, were like the two things that really kind of stood out for me.
Right.
But yeah, I do agree. Like, it stinks, but like I've learned over the years that marketing plays a huge role, and that's why I don't really get like back in the day. I used to get like outraged, like when Hereditary didn't get a Best Actress nomination, or when Uncut Gems didn't get a Best Actor. Like back
Hereditary
then,
is
I was
phenomenal.
outraged, but like now I'm like I understand why though they didn't,
Right.
because they didn't really have like the full backing of the studio. Like and you kind of need to in order to get like every now and then you'll get what was that movie called I forget what it was recently. There was an indie film that did get good word of mouth and the studio didn't push it, but it still got a Best Actress nomination.
Oh, you
Andre Riseborough, I think her name is.
yeah, the to Leslie.
Yes, yes, that movie. It was just it was a really good performance, and it caught on, and it got an Oscar nomination. But like that happens so rarely now. So like
Right.
I don't know. I'll be happy. Like I know Coleman Domingo 100% is going to get a Best Actor nomination, but
For sure. He is definitely, as soon as I saw the movie, I was like, he's gonna be in the conversation for best performance. For me, the movie, like, I think was a little too slow in moments, but that could be my personal taste. It has that art house kind of thing. Like I said, I think I said this to you before we started filming or earlier. I can't even remember now. But the second I saw the movie, I thought to myself, like, okay, this is a Chad movie.
this is a Chad movie.
Like there are people that I know will love this movie, and then there's people that like I have some friends that are great, and they review certain kinds of movies, and but that I just know that they're bored easily, and that slower movies, art house films, they're just not the audience for it. So, Sing Sing, um, I think it's definitely your kind of movie. I prefer Dune 2, but I love fantasy, I love scale, I love epics. I'm a big fan of epics,
And
and
the studio, especially since part one got nominated, the studio is going to put the full force like in,
for
in
sure.
regards to backing that movie.
If
So
that
it's
movie had come out last year, it would have been a very interesting, like when it was supposed to, like up against like Oppenheimer and everything. It would have been a
yeah,
very interesting race for sure.
yeah, that would have been having the Oscar ballots would have been like really difficult because it would have been like, who do I choose for best cinematography? Who do I choose for best score?
Right.
Also, Skynet Jensen's Sing Sing was the first movie I've seen this year where I've said, yes, this is going to get that Oscar buzz. Great movie, not my top five, but definitely deserves attention. Yeah, I
Right.
also just kind of wish that when indie films reach me, I realized that I have to like be on my toes and make sure to watch it as soon as possible, because after that first week, they'll then give it just one showtime, and usually it's in the middle of the day, which is when I work. So it's like I then can't watch it until it's on streaming or physical media. Andrew Lay, like I liked Code and Tolerate. Moonlight didn't enjoy very much, but epics like La La Land should have won. I love Moonlight. It's in my top 25 of all time. I think it's a masterpiece personally. It got better with each viewing. Ironically, we were talking about Florida. That movie takes place in Florida. Did
Right.
um did you see Anthony Moonlight?
I did, yeah. I think it's a great movie. I am on Team La La Land though for that whole situation. I was heartbroken watching that Oscar ceremony. La La Land is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I love that movie from top to bottom. I'm a big fan of musicals, and that movie just sings to my soul 100%. But
It's
I do
really
like
good.
Moonlight. I do think it's a great movie in a lot of ways. And what's cool is it takes place in Miami, and so I recognize majority of the places that film takes place, places that I've been many a times. So that's one
Oh,
part I
that's
love.
awesome.
Yeah, one part I love about that film. It's like, and it doesn't take place in any sort of special parts of Miami. Like it takes place in the normal streets. Like streets that, like, if you're from Miami, you'll recognize it for sure.
I think La La Land's the more crowd pleasing film, and if we were to cut back to 2016, like I would have said, yeah, I think La La Land should have won Best Picture, but I don't know. Each passing year, like Moonlight's the film that I revisit every single year, pretty much, and I don't know, like I love that story of Chiron. Like I just think it's such an emotional journey, like truthfully, and I don't know that last scene I just think is so heartbreaking. Like I think it's a film that's universal, and I don't know. I do love that there was that mix up though, because those two films will forever be tied together, and
Right,
it gave both films attention, so
right.
it's interesting though. Um, Bootzilla, this might actually be for you, Anthony, because I think you saw this. I just finished watching Rebel Ridge. Have you seen it? If so, what did you think of it?
I actually haven't seen it. I've been seeing everybody's checked it out. Like this last few days, a bunch of people on my letterbox have checked it out. I would definitely want to check it out because I like that director's last movie, which I think was, or one of his last movies, Green Room. I thought that was a pretty solid movie.
Green
Um,
Room, Blue Ruin, he did, and then there was
right,
another one with Jeffrey Wright. What's it called? I forget the name of it, but it's solid. I haven't seen it yet either, honestly. Like I similar to you, I saw people logging it, and I was like, oh, what's this? And I saw who the director was, and I was like, oh, so I do want to try to check it out.
right,
But
yeah.
Bootzilla, have you seen it? Also, Andrew Lay says, I'm hearing the Brutalist getting raves from Toronto, and I kind of prefer it over Sing Sing or for Best Picture because people are saying it's like the Godfather of our generation or something. Have you heard about this movie,
I've I've
Anthony?
I've heard of it. I haven't really seen too much conversation. I just heard the name in passing. I have a one of my friends my from my critics association is out. I think he's out in Toronto this weekend, or
Oh
he's out
wow.
he's out somewhere this weekend. I think he said he's somewhere in Canada for TIFF, I think that's happening this weekend. So
Yes.
he was gonna let me know about a bunch of stuff like that he gets to see out there. So I'm curious to see like what his thoughts are. I'm gonna be keeping track of his letterbox reviews over the course of the next few days.
It's not going to get Best Picture win, though. I'm telling you that right now because
Yeah, no way.
do you know the length of the movie?
No.
It's 3 hours and 35 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Good
So
luck
it's a
on
three
that.
hour and 35-minute film. And it's also, from what I understand, there's 10 minutes of intermission, which I think is cool. I think that's a nice middle ground, but I'm excited for it. But I'm also like, I know that when I see it, there's going to be like two people in the theater.
Right.
like,
If it even comes to some of these areas, right?
this is true because showtimes are a big thing, like with theaters where it's like, all right, we're going to give this like 6 to 8 showtimes, but something like this is only going to get like maybe 2 or 3, so it's going to be out in a week when it finally reaches.
Right.
Brazil, this year's Best Picture contenders sound very boring. I think, to be honest with you, I think it could be good. It's still too early to say. Like
Right.
we still have 3 more months. Like for crying out loud, we haven't even seen like Gladiator 2. That could be a contender since the previous one was a Best Picture winner.
Right.
It's too early. Ooh, this one I wanted to talk to you about, Anthony. Can't articulate. I hope Speak No Evil is good. I need some good spooky season releases. So, Anthony, I wanted to talk to you about this, and I do agree with you, can't articulate, but I wanted to talk to you about this, Anthony. So, I saw the trailer for Speak No Evil, and I was like, this looks really good. Like, I'm excited for this. And I think it was like a week or so ago, I found out that it's actually a remake of,
Yeah.
I think it's
From
a
the
Danish one.
2022 movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the original?
So I didn't see it. I know what it's about, and I had heard about it when it came out, and people were like, "Oh, it's a good one that you need to watch from this time." And I thought to myself, "Okay, cool. Like I'll check it out." And then I heard it was getting this treatment of getting an American remake, and it seems like we're on the path for this because there's that Indian film. I haven't seen it either. I know that you saw it,
Kill.
Kill, that recently came out. I heard it was great, but already an American remake in the works. Like literally the weekend that it came out and had success, they had announced the American remake. And it's
Yeah.
just such a shame, because it just kind of like it pushes people away from watching
The
original
original.
films, like, I don't want there to be, like, a remake of American films in other places, like, if it's one thing where it's been a lot of time and it's, like, a remake for a movie that's from ages ago, like, sure, whatever, at least but if, remakes within a couple years, very similar to it's a very different kinda situation, but, like, the fact that we're getting a live action remake of Moana already with
Yeah.
The Rock in it, it's, like, strange, like, it's just a strange choice, like, why are we doing that? Like, of all the things we can devote time and money to, it just doesn't make any sense, so, yeah, I mean, I'm torn on it, I have an early
Are you gonna be
screening,
watching
actually.
the original, like, before watching the
I want
remake?
to if I can, but I honestly don't know if I'll have the time. Tomorrow, my wife and I are actually going to Universal Studios for, Halloween Horror Nights,
Oh,
which is gonna be
nice.
fun, and then Monday, I work in the morning, and then, literally right after I get home, I'm gonna be getting ready to go to my early screening of Speak No Evil. So, I might have to do it a little
Cool.
backwards where I'll see Speak No Evil first, the American one, and then I'll go see the original one, afterwards, but, um, I'm excited to see it, but I will say this, I talked about this actually on my stream yesterday, we were talking about trailers and how just, like, much information they're giving. The trailer for this movie just gives away the whole movie. Like, I just feel like maybe because they think, "Oh, people have seen the original, so let's just show you the moments that you know from the original." But,
Um,
like, I feel like the
I
trailer shows way too much.
so what I'm about to say is someone that I haven't seen the original, of course. I'm gonna try to actually watch it ironically tomorrow. But what I'll say is this: I thought I was on the same length as you. Like I thought that, oh wow, this is very spoilerish. Like, why are they giving away the whole thing? But from what I understand, there's a lot of a lot, a lot of stuff that goes down in like the third act that's just like insanity that they didn't reveal in like the American remake trailer. So like I'll let you know if like that's confirmed in regards to like when I watch the original, but like it sounds like there's other stuff that they're kind of cooking up. But I will say that the trailer, I think that they all they should have showed was that it was a a retreat and that there's like a couple weird things, but not like stuff that seems like it's in the third
Well,
act.
like showing the kid, like, showing his tongue cut out, like, I don't know, like, I just feel like you're giving away, like, moments that could like, that moment in theaters would have been effective, like, if they, like, the people who did not know the original film, like, I think they just showed way a little bit too much, where it's just like, okay, like, and I feel like if you're like me and yourself, where we go to the movies frequently, that trailer feels like it's playing almost in front of every single movie. So
Yes.
it's like I've seen the trailer a million times. So I'm just ready for the you ever have those times too where you see a movie and like you're excited for it, but you just can't wait for to see it so you can stop seeing the trailer in front of every movie that you go see? I
Yeah.
felt that
There
way last year with Gran Turismo, where I liked the movie too, but the trailer was in front of every movie I saw, where I was like, I always think of the beginning of did you see that movie?
I did. No, and I enjoyed it. I saw it with one of my car buddies together. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
The beginning of that trailer is like he's like on the phone with a friend. He's like, I could dust him in a lap. And he just I kept like I felt like I was hearing that in my dreams at a certain point because of how many times I saw that trailer. So I was so excited to see the movie just so that I didn't have to see the trailer again.
I'm trying to think of the movie. Let me quickly look at my list. There was a movie this year where it was like the same situation where I was like, I've seen this trailer like so many times. Um, Not Long Legs. I don't think I saw the trailer enough for that one. Problemista. I saw the trailer for Problemista so many times, and I
Really?
enjoyed it, but it was like I saw the trailer so many times, man. Like, but oh, yeah, I'm really excited though for like I'm hoping the original is good, and I'm hoping that the remake is also good. I'm
Yeah.
seeing that. I think I'm seeing it. I'm either seeing it Friday or sometime next week. Like Speak No Evil, and I'm seeing. I think I mentioned it to you. I'm gonna try to see God's Not Dead 5 on Thursday.
Right. Yeah. I can't wait to see your score for that. I've never seen a single one of those.
5
Yeah.
out of 5, greatest movie of the year. No,
Yeah,
I just
I'll be seeing Speak No Evil on Monday, and then Thursday I'm seeing that new can't remember what it's called right now. Never Let Go, I think. I'm getting an early screening on Thursday for the movie. It's like with Halle Berry. She's got like two
oh,
sons,
yeah.
and like yeah, as soon as I saw that trailer, it instantly made me think of a movie that is my second highest viewed video on my channel. It's called, or third highest viewed video on my channel. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's called Tethered. It's a smaller indie film that I covered a few years ago, and it seems almost like the same exact movie. Now, this movie's different, where it's like a mother and two sons, but they have to tie themselves to the ropes. Like there's something in the woods, they tie themselves to the rope so they can stay at the house. Tethered is about a mother and a son who her son is blind, and the two of them tie each other to ropes, and there's something in the woods, and they have to have the rope so that they don't get too far away from the house. Like that's exactly the premise of the movie I've already covered. So when I saw the trailer, I text one of my friends who also covered that same movie, Tethered. And I was like, dude, did you see the trailer for this? I was like, isn't this just Tethered again? And he was like, dude, I thought the exact same thing. I was just like, I was blown away. Like that, it just seems like, and Tethered is so small that I can see how a lot of people just don't know about it. But this Halle Berry movie obviously has the push to get a theatrical release, and so it'll probably be the better known of the two rope
It
tied to the house movies.
it's also I every now and then I'll go on Reddit and I'll see like the AMC screen on scenes, like what some people think are going to be shown, and I've seen some people say that this Monday that that's going to be shown. And I'm actually this Monday. I'm actually going to try to do the AMC screen unseen, and I think it's actually going to be the movie My Old Ass with what's it called, Aubrey Plaza. I'm
Right,
hoping it's
right.
that one because that one I actually am excited for. But if it's the Halle Berry movie, like I'll of course still watch
I've
it.
noticed sometimes there's a correlation though with movies that like I go see a press screening for the day that some of those happen. So
Really?
yeah, so I've just noticed there's times where I've gone to see his press screening like that I was invited to, and then I'll go and I'll find out the AMC Unseen was the was that movie. So if it is
Oh.
possibly this Monday, I got invited to two. I had to choose one over the other. So I chose Speak No Evil. But the other one was the Killer's Game with Dave Bautista. So it could possibly be one of those two.
Oh.
Maybe I could be wrong, but you know,
That's a good point because I know that the Killers game that's I think Lionsgate has been hand in hand with the AMC screen on scenes, which I wouldn't mind seeing that one as well, but I don't know. The My Old Ass one, I'm like, I feel like that one is like needs the kind of push that AMC screens unseen are known for, which is like pushing these like, smaller films that might
right.
not have been seen otherwise by like some of these audiences. Andrew Lay says, "Yeah, I'm a sucker for historical epics. 3.5 hours of Holocaust survivors turned immigrants in America ain't gonna intimidate me. Anyways, I'm gonna be going soon. See y'all." I didn't realize that that movie was about Holocaust survivors turned immigrants in America. That's gonna be
It's gonna be a heavy
yeah
watch.
that that's gonna be even more of a niche audience. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm part of that audience though. Like I'll watch it for sure, but I feel like going back to what you were saying with like getting a bunch of press screenings and also like a bunch of like discs from like the distributors, like that's going to be one that when a lot of people, get the disc and they see how long it is, they're going to be like, all right, back burner. Like let's watch, this hour and a half or 2 hour movie because like
Right.
it's tough, man, to get someone to watch a 3.5 hour film. Like, I mean, it used to be the norm, like, in like the 50s, 60s in Hollywood, but now it's tough to push a film of that length, like without someone that's like a big name director like Nolan
Right.
or like an IP, like something like Dune, like Dune Part Two being almost 3 hours was like something that they could do. Bootzil, I hope Speaking of Evil is good too, since every time I go to the movies they show that trailer. Yep, that's what you and I were talking about, Anthony. I really hope it's good. Like I said, I think I'm gonna try to watch it tomorrow, like because I like the original one because I'm very curious about it. I've seen some people talk about it on Letterboxd, and it just I don't know. It sounds like something that I would like. Um, my wife was like, "Oh, you should watch it after," and I was like, "Yeah, I want to see what the original vision though is first."
Right. I ideally I meant to time it that way where I was going to be able to do that, but I just didn't prioritize. Like I said, this Star Wars game has been stealing all my time, and like I just like every time I get home, I'm like, time to boot that up instead of like watching
Yeah,
something. So I kind of did that. I kind of worked it against myself, but we'll see. Maybe tomorrow morning if I can before I go to Universal.
it's not
I'll
that
see.
long either. It's only like I think 97 minutes, so it's
Oh, it's
really
not like
it's. I think the remake is almost 2 hours, so it's like there's going to be some differences for sure, or maybe like
For
some
sure.
extension of certain things. But I think that 2 years, it's very short, like in terms of like when the original came out as opposed to the remake. But I will say horror, I think is a lot more like I think I'm a bit more flexible with in terms of remakes coming out so soon as opposed to something like Kill, which is an action film, and it's like you have a very specific style of filmmaking of the action scenes by this country, and then it's like the American remake is probably going to be like all this choppy editing. It might even be a PG-13 movie, and if you watch the original, it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be watered down. It's supposed to be like this brutal, balls to the wall type action film.
If I'm
And
not mistaken, though, I do think I heard that they were going to get somebody involved from the John Wick movies. I'm not sure if that's exactly what's going to happen, but
I think it's David Leitch who did which one was it? I think he did Atomic Blonde, if I'm not
right.
mistaken. What
He
was
also
it?
did.
Deadpool
I think he
2?
did Fall Guy too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did
Which
like
has me all the
Deadpool.
more nervous because I feel like his movies, they are I find them just to be kind of okay. And I just think that I hope that you do watch Kill at some point, like the original,
I want
because
to. It's on my list to try to see before the year's out.
you would like it, dude. Like the first 45 minutes, you might say to yourself, like, what's the point of all this? Like, this is kind of meandering. But when the title card comes on screen at the 45-minute marker, you'll know why they set it up that way because the rest of the movie is like a totally different tone, but it makes sense in the context of the story. And I just like when the film ended, I was thinking about like what an American remake would look like, and I was just like, well, it'd probably start right away with like nonstop action and not have that like subtle breathing room that the original had. So
Right.
going in with an open mind, but we'll see how that is. But on that note, I will say we'll wrap things up. I wanted to say, Anthony, thank you once again for having me on the channel. And guys, I appreciate all the comments. Anthony, be sure to subscribe to Anthony's channel. I have his Letterboxd as well as his channel down below. And be on the lookout for me being on his channel October 11th. And I'll also be sure to have Anthony on my channel soon in regards to a video. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you guys later. Thanks again, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Of course.